Do you want to practice speaking in English? Well, that's exactly what you'll do in this English speaking masterclass. You're going to practice speaking out loud to improve your speaking skills. And throughout this masterclass, you'll also expand your vocabulary, learn grammar, and improve your pronunciation. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
So, what are we speaking about? You're going to speak about what's happening now. What's happening now? So, what verb tense do you need if the question is, what's happening now? What's happening now? What verb tense do you need? Well, of course, this is the present continuous, because if something is happening now, you need the present continuous to talk about it. So I want you to answer out loud, and you're going to do this to practice speaking. So I want you to open your mouth and answer the question, and make sure you do that out loud. So here is our first example. What's happening now? And you need to make a positive statement, use the subject, the verb to be, conjugated with your subject. So, of course, you need I am, you are, he, she, it. What do you need? Is, we are, and they are. And then you need your verb with ing. So your verb can be any verb, and then you just add the ing. And this is, of course, the present continuous tense. So what's happening now? In this picture, what is happening right now in this picture? Maybe, well, you see the image, right? It looks like a man on the phone, Michael Scott. Does anyone recognize this reference? Michael Scott from Dunder Mifflin. Does anyone know who Michael Scott is? Well, if you know anything about American culture, American pop culture, you might recognize that Michael Scott is one of the characters from a very popular TV show called The Office. This TV show is quite old right now. Just like Friends is very old, but Americans still watch it today. And it's a great TV show to watch if you want to get comfortable with real English, the way Americans truly talk. So, what's happening now? We could say, so you have, oh, look, it's a phone call from Michael Scott. So let's see, we have some examples here in the comments. This student said, my friend is calling me on the phone now. Exactly, because what's the subject in this sentence? My friend, my friend. But when you have a subject, you always want to think, what is it? I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. So first you want to understand which of the 5 subjects is this. My friend is, of course, he or she. So he is calling me, because you call someone on the phone now. You can add now, that's optional, because the present continuous, it tells you that the action is happening now. So you don't have to include that, but you can. You can say now or right now. All right. So another example here, the mobile is ringing. Exactly. Now listen to how I said this, because in American English, we say mobile, mobile, mobile. But in British English, mobile, mobile. So if you hear someone say mobile and someone else say mobile, just know that both pronunciations are correct. One is American, mobile, and the other one is British, mobile. The mobile is ringing. Exactly. So what's the subject here? The subject is the mobile, which is I, you, he, she, it. It's it. It is ringing. Exactly. Everyone is doing so great. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So let's try this again. Let's try another one. Well, before we go to the next one, of course, make sure you like this video, subscribe for more great lessons. And if you're having fun, if you're enjoying this style of video, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments so I know you want more videos just like this. Okay, so let's try another one. Here's an image. What's happening now? So think about who the subject is or what the subject is, because you can have a what, and then you need your subject, the verb to be conjugated with your subject, and the verb in ing to form a full sentence. What's happening now? What's happening now? All right, everyone, let's see. What could our subject be? Well, there's only one person in this image. So who is our subject? And what is that person doing? Well, let's think about this. We could say she. And then what do you need for your verb to be? We have she. So you need the verb to be conjugated with the subject. She is. And then you need your verb. You take your base verb and then you add ing. So Patrice said she's shopping. Exactly. She's shopping. And then you can expand this. You can provide more information. What she's shopping for, where is she shopping, who is she shopping with. So you can expand on this to provide a more complex sentence, but the base of your sentence, the start of your sentence is she's shopping. Excellent job, Patrice.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
All right. Who else do we have? Bhavesh said she is checking the size of the top. Very nice sentence. So notice checking the size because she's holding it up to her. Will this fit? I'm not sure. Let me check the size. Now, most shirts have a tag on them, usually at the back. And you can also check the size by looking at that tag. Oh, what size is this? Let me check. Let me check the size of the top. Very nice sentence. Shima said she is trying a new shirt. Now, great job, Shima. You have your subject, she. You have your verb to be conjugated with the subject. But there's something missing in this sentence because you don't try a new shirt. You need a phrasal verb. So what could that phrasal verb be? You need to take try, but you need it as a phrasal verb. So you need a preposition. There's a preposition missing from this sentence to make it grammatically correct. And I see Horatio has that preposition. She is trying on clothes. Exactly. She is trying on. So that's the phrasal verb, to try on. And that's when you see if the size is correct, if it looks good on you, if you like the shirt, you try it on. So you might be in the store and you ask someone, where can I try this on? Where can I try this on? So you're asking, where is the change room, the dressing room, the fitting room? There are many different ways, but those three are the most common. She is trying on clothes. And before, Shima said a new shirt. You can absolutely use that. She is trying on a new shirt. Okay, so Carlos said she is smiling. Absolutely. Amazing job. She is smiling because we use the present continuous for states of being as well. So you can look at her and see, okay, what is she doing? What emotion does she have as well? She is smiling. She's smiling because she found the perfect shirt. It's the right size and it's on sale. So she's smiling. Very good. Aiden provided a very detailed answer. She is trying a green blouse in the mall. Well, very good. There is just one thing you're missing, and I just explained that. You're missing the preposition on. She's trying on a green blouse in the mall. Very nice sentence. I like how you added additional detail. And that's how you can make a simple sentence sound more complex by just add on more information. So really nice sentence. Just don't forget that phrasal verb try on. She's trying on a green blouse in the mall. Very nice. Okay, this is an interesting one. Julia said she is mirroring to check her ideal blouse. Very interesting that you used mirror as a verb. Now, I love how you did that, but what I would say is she is looking in the mirror. So you look in a mirror. She's looking in the mirror to check her ideal blouse. So you can see that she's looking in the mirror. All right, great job. Moses says she is looking at the blouse. Yeah, exactly. She's looking at the blouse. She's looking at it in the mirror. She's using the mirror to look at the blouse. She's looking at the blouse in the mirror. Now, remember, for spoken English, you can sound more natural, sound more fluent by forming that contraction with your subject, she, and your auxiliary verb to be, she's. She is. So say that out loud. She's. She's. Very good. And you can do that with all subjects. She's. So try that when you're saying these out loud. All right. Excellent job, everyone. So one student wanted to know, how about she's picking a new blouse? So new instead of news, new because it's an adjective and we don't add s's to adjectives. She's picking a new blouse. You could say that because in the picture behind her, there are many different items of clothing. And of course, this is a store with many ones, many different items of clothing. So she's picking one. You can also use the phrasal verb to pick out. She's picking out a new blouse. So honestly, you could use both. She's picking a new blouse. She's picking out a new blouse. You can absolutely do that. Excellent job. Okay, so how about we try this again? How about this one? What's happening now? Oh, a little more complex of a picture, more items in the picture as well. So again, think of your subject from the main list of subjects: I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. And then you need your verb to be conjugated with the subject. When you're speaking out loud, form that contraction. I'm, your, she's, he's, it's, where, and there. And then you add your verb in ing. Okay, well, let's see. Hacken said she is making YouTube videos. Exactly. Maybe she is because she, of course, is recording. She's looking right into a camera. She's making YouTube videos. An excellent job getting your subject verb. And remember, in written English, you can also use that contraction as well. She's making. And good job using the verb make. Make in this sense means create. You're watching YouTube videos. I'm making YouTube videos. And maybe you make YouTube videos in your spare time or as your full-time job as well. She's making YouTube videos. Excellent. And if you wanted to make this more complex, you can add more information. What is she making the YouTube video about? Who is she making it for? What's the purpose? Very nice. Sergi said she's trying to decide if it's fit for her. Okay, so I think you're talking about this image. I'm just seeing your comment now. So if it's fit for her, you would say if it fits her. If it, and then you take the verb fit, but you have to conjugate the verb in the present simple because your subject is it, being the shirt. If the shirt fits, so you have to add that s because it's it. If the shirt fits her. If it fits her. You could also say if it's a fit for her. And then in your case, the only thing you need to do is add a in front of fit. If it's a fit for her. All right, now let's go back to this image here. And Shima said, the cook is showing her followers her cake. Very nicely done because in this case, the subject is the cook. She represents the cook because as a profession, we can say she is a cook. So the cook is showing, very nice. And you show someone something. She's showing her followers her cake. Very nice sentence, Shima. I love it. Okay, here we go. Vinny said she's making a live about cake's decoration. Very nicely done. Just like I'm making a live right now, she's making a live about cake's decoration. Okay, now if you have the possessive here, it sounds like decoration belongs to the cake. So what I would do is I would use cake as the adjective about cake decoration, about how to decorate. And in this case, decorate is your verb, about how to decorate cakes. Or you can do about cake decoration. Very nice. And Goar said she is going to celebrate her birthday. Absolutely. Maybe she isn't making a YouTube video or a live. Maybe she is just talking to her family and friends and she wants to have good lighting and she's celebrating her birthday. So she received all of these cakes as presents from people because it's her birthday. Who knows? Maybe she's not a cake or a cook at all. I like that. Be creative. Think other scenarios. Very nice. She's going to celebrate her birthday. Now, technically, this is a different verb tense. We have going to and then, well, to be going, infinitive. If you want to take your main verb, celebrate, and then you can put that in the present continuous. She's celebrating her birthday because it's happening now. She's going to celebrate her birthday. That's actually in the future. But right now, you can use the present continuous. She's celebrating her birthday. But what you wrote is grammatically correct. It just pushes it into the future. Okay. Excellent job, everyone. Let's see another one. Patrice said she's baking. I think you mean baking, not bakering. Baking. So the verb is to bake, and then you take bake and you add ing. She's baking in front of a mirror. Exactly. So maybe that's a mirror. I think it's a phone. It looks like it's a phone on a tripod, but maybe there's a mirror behind that as well. Okay, very nice. Ashin said she's showing her cooking ability. Yeah, very nice. She's showing everyone her cooking ability. Very nice. Okay. And Julia said she is streaming a live video to showcase her birthday cake. I love the verb showcase. When you showcase something, it means you show it, but in more of a advertisement way, in more of a way to let people know that you have skill or you have expertise or you really want people to admire or respect the end result of the work. So very nice verb here. showcase, to showcase. So our present continuous is she's streaming. What is she streaming? A live video to showcase, very nice, her birthday cake. Very nice. I love that. Okay. And Horatio said she's selling cakes on social media. I love that. Exactly. Hi, everyone. I just made this cake. You can go to my website and buy it for however much she would sell it for. They look beautiful, so I'm sure they cost a pretty penny. That's an idiom, to cost a pretty penny, which means that they're expensive. Now, expensive relative to how much cakes cost, because in a grocery store, you can buy a cake for maybe $5, $10, a cheap cake. But these are beautiful cakes. So maybe her cakes are $20, $30, $40. So comparatively to a grocery store, they cost a pretty penny. They're expensive, but they look beautiful. She's selling cakes on social media. Very nice. Alexander had a similar idea. She's trying to earn money in YouTube. Yes, very nice. You would just change your preposition from in YouTube to on YouTube, on social media, on TV. But we actually say in movies. So you have to memorize that preposition for movies is in, but most other places, social media, TV, the news, it's on. She's trying to earn money on YouTube. Exactly. Excellent job, everyone. Let's see our next picture. Oh, here we go. There is a lot happening in this picture, but notice my model says negative statement. So let's practice the negative. To make it negative, you need the same start, your subject, the verb to be conjugated with your subject. You can put that in a contraction. And then we need not, and then a verb in ing. So your base verb in ing. So all you're doing is you're adding not before the main verb. Okay, so what is not happening in this photo? Because we're using the negative. But be creative. There are a lot of things in this image. We see some scenery, we see the sky, we see buildings, we see billboards, we see cars, we see a road. There are a lot of things here. So let's see. Abbas said, traffic jam is not overing. I'm not sure what overing is. I think you're taking the word over to be over, and then you're adding that as a verb. But over is not a verb, so we can't do that. And also remember that there are certain verbs in English that don't exist in the continuous form. So I would just say the movie is over. So there is no continuous action there. I wouldn't say the movie is being over. I wouldn't do that. It's just the movie is over, because some things don't have a continuation to them. So in this case, you could talk about the traffic or the cars as the subject. So can anyone take Abbas' sentence and change it into a new sentence using not? We'll see, and we'll come back to that. But good try. Okay. Shima has a great one. So people, this is our subject. Remember, people is the plural of person. One person, which represents he or she. And then we have people, which means two or more of one. So we have two people. So the subject is they. They are not. They aren't. Excellent job. They aren't walking on this road. Excellent sentence. Exactly. Very creative. People aren't walking on this road. Very nicely done. Very creative. Okay. Patrice said, cars aren't moving. in this highway. Exactly. The cars are not moving. Exactly. Very nicely done. The cars, subject, they aren't moving. Excellent job. Okay. So here, the cars aren't driving. Now, in the future, and even right now, there are cars that drive themselves, self-driving cars. But at this point, for the average person, it's not the cars that drive, it's the people that drive the cars. So you would say what we just saw with Patrice, the cars aren't moving. You would say that instead of driving, because a person drives a car. She's driving on the highway. But in this case, you would say the cars aren't moving. Okay, very nicely done. Dil Sol said the drivers, so our subject is they, the drivers are not going to their places now because of the traffic. Exactly. Very nicely done. Okay. We won't be able to visit our meeting on time because of the traffic jam. Yes, exactly. So when you have a noun, traffic jam, you need because of the traffic jam. And you don't visit a meeting, you attend a meeting. We won't be able to attend our meeting on time because of the traffic jam. Exactly. But this is in the future simple. This sentence is grammatically correct with the changes I made, but it's in the future simple, not the present continuous in the negative. What about the weather? Can anyone say what isn't happening with the weather? Because I do see some sky in the background, so we could make some statements about what isn't happening with the weather. Does anyone have any ideas? Okay. Alexander said, people here are experiencing a nightmare. Exactly. You can experience a nightmare. Now, if I wanted to make this negative, maybe I would say the people aren't having a good day. They're not having a good day. So to have a good day, a great day. So that means to experience, to have. That's our verb have. So I can say the people aren't having a good day because they're stuck in traffic. All right. So Dil Sol said birds are not flying in the sky. Yes, exactly. I don't see any birds in the background. Birds are not flying in the sky. Very nicely said. And Moses said vehicles are not moving. They're stuck. Exactly. They're stuck. So nicely done using the negative. They're not moving. And then you can add on, well, what is happening? You can add on the positive. Vehicles are not moving. They're stuck. Okay. So Carlos said the weather is getting, so that's our present continuous. The weather is getting worse and worse. At any moment, it will rain. Exactly. So it will, that is the future simple. So you need the base verb. It will rain. So to put a present continuous in a negative, we could say it isn't, and then we need some sort of weather term. So, for example, the sun is not shining. Exactly. The sun is not shining. Very nice. All right. Manuel said there are no police helping the drivers anymore. Exactly. So here, there are no police. You could say the police as the subject and then the negative. The police are not helping the drivers. And I'm making this correction because although this sentence is grammatically correct, it doesn't follow the structure I gave. But if you're in a language exam and you're required to use a specific structure and you give a grammatically correct sentence, but it doesn't use the structure they want, you won't get it correct, even though the sentence is grammatically correct, but it doesn't follow the structure. So the structure is subject, the police, the verb to be are, negative, the police are not helping the drivers. All right, very nice. Okay. Excellent job, everyone. Let's move on to another picture. Let's see what we find. What's happening now? Oh, okay. So another negative statement. Now, as subjects, we could again talk about the weather, which would be it. We could talk about animals that are or are not in this picture. And then we have two people. So we could talk about them individually. She is not, he is not, or we could talk about them as a couple. They are not. But notice how I just said the word couple. If you use the word couple as a subject, well, what verb do you need? The couple is. So if you refer to these two people as the couple, you use the subject is. The couple is. But if you use they, then of course they are. And we need that negative. So remember, subject, verb to be conjugated with your subject, not, and then your base verb with ing. Okay. Moses said, they, very nice. Your verb to be are conjugated. They're not talking to each other. Excellent job, Moses. And excellent job getting you talk to someone. And because it's reflexive, we need each other. They're not talking to each other. Very nice. So, Hoy, remember, this is grammatically correct. They are arguing. That's true. But how could you take this and turn it into a negative? So, you need a positive action that isn't happening. So, think about how you can take this and turn it into a negative. Abo said, things are not going well. Exactly. Excellent job. So, our subject is things in general. Things are verb to be are not going well. To go well is the verb here. To go well in the negative. Things are not going well. Exactly. And then you can add on things are not going well for this couple because, and then you can add on more. Very, very nice. Okay. Horatio said the couple. Excellent job using the couple isn't, because remember what I said, the couple is conjugated as a collective noun is. The couple isn't having a good time. Exactly. The couple isn't having a good time. If you walked by this couple on the street, you would think to yourself, oh no, they're not having a good time. The couple isn't having a good time. Very nicely said. Okay. And then he said, they're not getting along very well at this moment. Exactly. Very nicely done. The subject, they are not. And our verb is to get along, to get along. But he made it the negative, to not get along very well. Now, instead of at moment, that's not correct. You need to say at this moment, which means now or right now. Okay. And Glendis said they aren't enjoying their date. Exactly. Imagine this is their first time meeting each other. And maybe this is even a blind date. Do you know what a blind date is? A blind date is when someone else arranges a meeting for you, a date for you, or you find someone on social media, but you don't know who that person is. You don't even know what they look like. Maybe that's a blind date. So maybe they're meeting for the very first time and they aren't enjoying their date. Excellent job, Glendis. Okay. Goar said they're not looking to each other. Excellent job. Instead of to, use the preposition at. You look at something. Right now, I'm looking at the computer screen. You are also looking at the computer screen. Okay, they're not looking at each other. Exactly. Very nicely said. Alexander said he is not giving up his kidney to pay for her car. Maybe that's why they're mad right now. They're in a fight because she wanted him to give up his kidney. Of course, this is a joke, and that's have fun, be creative. Studying and learning doesn't always have to be so serious. Think of fun examples, fun situations, fun sentences. Really nicely done, Alexander. He is not giving up his kidney to pay for her car. Very nice. Okay, Paulo said they are not thinking about their wedding day. Exactly, exactly. And that's a great one. Well, they're not thinking about, and then something positive, their wedding day. Very nice. Okay. And Jamie said they're not happy. Okay, very nice, Jamie. So if you use aren't, that includes the verb to be, are, and then not. And then you take are not as a contraction, aren't. But when you do that, you only need the subject they. They aren't happy about their relationship. Otherwise, they're not. You can do the subject verb contraction there and then use not, or you can use verb to be and not contraction. They aren't. Both of them are acceptable. Okay, excellent job. Everyone has very, very creative ones for this one. Okay, Soul said they're not engaging in any conversation. Exactly. When they're engaged in conversation, they're looking at each other and they're talking intensely. They're not engaging in any conversation. Very good. Patrice said they're not trying to break the ice. Exactly. When you break the ice, it means you start a conversation with someone, usually for the first time, and you use a lighthearted topic that will get people talking. They're not trying to break the ice. Very, very nicely done. Okay. And Yassine said they aren't asking about this work. Yeah, they aren't asking about this work. Sure, you can say that. Maybe they aren't talking about this work or their work or the project, just because I'm not sure what this work is. So you might use their work, the work, or the project. And if it's asking about, it would probably be one person asking the other person, but you can use talk about for both of them. They aren't talking about their work. Very nice. Okay. How about this one? So remember, negative. We're going to practice the negative some more and look at the scene. We have subjects. There are many subjects in this picture because there are lots of people in the background. We have 3 women. You can talk about them as a group or you can talk about them individually. You can talk about the scenery as well. You can talk about the environment that they're in. There are even suitcases. You could talk about the suitcases as the subject. You could talk about many different things. So let's see, what do we have in this one? And remember, we're practicing our negative. So many different subjects we could use. Noor has one, the flight. Exactly. The flight is the subject. And the flight is conjugated as it. So we need our verb to be is. It is not coming at this time. Exactly. The flight isn't coming. So you can take is not and form the contraction isn't. The flight isn't coming at this time. Exactly. Very, very nice. And maybe they're at the train station. That's exactly possible for sure. I don't see a plane here. So this could absolutely be a train station. The train is not coming on time. Exactly. So to come on time means at the specified time. That could be 8:43, but it looks like they're bored, they're waiting. So the train is not coming on time. Very nice sentence. Excellent job. And you can take that subject not, or sorry, the verb to be not and form a contraction isn't. The train isn't coming on time. So someone is using the suitcases as the subject. Black and red suitcases are not moving. Exactly. Very nice. Very creative. Now, I would add the article the because you're not just talking about suitcases in general. If you're just talking about suitcases in general, you don't need an article. You can just say suitcases. Suitcases are available in this store. But in this case, you're talking about specific suitcases, the black and red suitcases. So you need that article. The black and red suitcases are not moving. Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Soul said they aren't working today. Exactly. So right now, if they're just here napping, well, we can assume they aren't working today. You can also say they're not. Both of those contractions are possible. They're not working today. They aren't working today. Very nice. All the sisters aren't feeling well. They're tired. Exactly. So, very nice adding that negative, but then also having a positive. They aren't feeling well. They're tired. Very nice. Ashen said they're not having a blast at this time. At this time, at this moment, that means now or right now. They're not having a blast at this time. Very nice. Okay. Very nice. How about ladies are not talking beaches? They are sleeping. Okay, very nice. So you would say talk about something. So you would say they're not talking about beaches. They're sleeping. So of course they're not talking about beaches. Excellent job. Very nice. How about this one? So, in this case, I have some potential verbs you can use. So, why don't you try to use one of the verbs on this list? It doesn't matter which one you use. And you can use a positive statement. You can use a negative statement. It's up to you. And remember, look at the image, think about who the subjects are. There are two dogs. They could be the subjects as well, two people. We have the weather, we have animals, the birds, the trees. There's lots of things that could potentially be subjects here. And you can use a positive or a negative. The choice is yours. So run. Hold. So ask yourself, hold what? Where? What? Rain. Okay, that's probably about the weather. Fun. Fun is not a verb. I'm funning. No, fun is not a verb. So in this case, you have to take that word and turn it into a full sentence. So you have to think about what verb do I need and spend maybe there are some other words you need to complete that sentence. Okay. So we have Wake Up said they're walking their dogs in the rain. Exactly. They're walking. They are, as a contraction, very nice. They're walking their dogs. Excellent job getting the possessive that matches the subject in the rain. Very nicely done. Okay, Nora said the dogs. Okay, what do you have? You have the dogs and your subject has an S on it. So it is they. They are. The dogs are running away from the water when it starts run. I don't know what you mean by the end part. Maybe you mean rain instead of run. I'm not sure. But let's just use the beginning part. The dogs are running away from the water. Very nicely done. When you run away from something, it means you get farther from the object. So let's say this is I don't know, something that doesn't smell very good. I can try to walk away from this area that doesn't smell very good or run away from it because there's a giant spider. I might run away from the spider. I move far from it. Very nice. Okay, so Dilisol, we have the dogs, the man, and the woman. Very nice. And all of those combined are the subject they. You always want to think about what your subject is. They are running to show people the picture of happiness. Isn't that beautiful? I really like that, to show people the picture of happiness. Very nice. Okay. They're running in the rain. Exactly. They're running. You just forgot why. They're running in the rain. You run in the rain. Very nice. Excellent job. They're running in the rain. Okay. Let's see. Glenda said, it's raining a lot. Exactly. So that is in the present continuous. It is raining. It's raining a lot. And they are running holding hands. So this is holding hands. Exactly. So they're holding hands and they're running holding hands. Very nicely written. Okay. So, David, excellent job. It's raining. Now you're trying to use the idiom, one of the most famous idioms in English. Do you know it? When it's raining really hard, instead of saying it's raining really hard, you can say it's raining cats and dogs. But we don't want a dog and a cat. No. So idioms, you must use the exact expression or it doesn't sound correct. So it's raining cats and dogs. So you can't change the order. You can't say dogs and cats. It's always cats first, plural, and dogs. It's raining cats and dogs. Very nice. And Moses has it. It's raining cats and dogs. Exactly. That's the idiom. Very nice. All right. What else do we have? The man and the woman in the picture. Oh, very nice. The man and the woman in the picture. Again, think about what subject is this because you need to know that for your verb conjugation. They, the man and the woman in the picture, are running in the rain with their dogs alongside. Very nice. The man is holding the girl, his girl, by the hand. Very nice. The girl is wearing a raincoat. Exactly. To wear. The girl is wearing a raincoat. It's raining heavily. Very nicely done. You use many of the examples on the screen. Well written. Okay. So Hakan, I just read that answer or the example. The woman. So think about your subject. You need the verb to be conjugated in the base verb. The woman is wearing, and then you need your verb in ing. The woman is wearing a raincoat. Now, technically, you could say the raincoat, but then it becomes a specific raincoat. So you have to identify why it's specific. Maybe it's the woman is wearing the raincoat she just bought, for example. All right. Moses said he is holding an umbrella in the rain. Exactly. You hold an umbrella. And remember, you also hold hands. The woman is also holding something. She's holding his hand. She is holding his hand. But what is she holding in her other hand? Ooh, does anyone know? Okay. In spite of the rain, they're having a lot of fun spending their time outside. Very nicely written. I like in spite of the rain because that sounds like it's something negative, but we're ignoring it. In spite of the rain, they're having a lot of fun. So, Antho, hopefully I said that correctly, used fun. You have fun. I'm having fun hosting this live stream. You're having fun watching the live stream, hopefully. And if you are, like this live stream, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe. And if you're watching this live stream after it's live, don't worry because I still read the comments. So still practice along as well. They're having fun. And then you can modify that. They're having a lot of fun. They're having so much fun spending their time outside. Very nice. Okay. So, Glendis, notice what I just explained. They're spending, you can spend time doing something. They're spending the day walking their dogs. They're spending the afternoon with their dogs, but you have fun. They're having a fun time. They're having a fun time. Okay. So this is more of a literal translation. And still, if you don't know the word, if you're having a conversation with someone and you don't know what the actual word is, you can absolutely use a literal translation. And then the person can say, oh, you mean, so they're holding the ropes attached to their dog's necks. What is the name in English for ropes attached to a dog's neck? Does anyone know? And interestingly, I use these on my cats, which is not common in North America at all. I'm very weird that I use this with my cats because no, people don't do that, but I do. But they are called, does anyone know? I'll give you a second to think about it. So it's not a rope. That's a literal thing, but we have a name for a rope attached to a dog's neck. And that is, Theo got it. I knew someone would get it. A leash, a leash. So that is the name of what the woman is holding. So she's holding the man's hand. We'll say her boyfriend, her husband's hand. And in her other hand, she's holding a leash. A leash, and that's the rope that attaches to your dog, or in my case, cat, to control your pet's movements. A leash, a leash. Very good. So get that pronunciation. Eesh, leash, leash, a leash. Very nice. Okay. How about we have a few minutes left in our class today. So should we do another image? How about that? So here is one. And this time, I'm not giving you any clues. I'm not giving you any verbs. I'm not giving you any keywords. I'm not giving you this sentence structure. So here's what you can do. You can form a positive sentence. You can form a negative sentence. You can even ask a question. We haven't practiced that, but I know you can do it. I know you can ask a question in the present continuous, so you can practice that as well. and think about what could the different subjects be. Yes, there's a woman, but she's in an environment. There are many other things in this picture. So, what could the subject be as well? And then you can form a positive sentence. Make sure you get that contraction. You can form a negative sentence, or you can ask a question as well. Let's practice them all in the few minutes we have. Okay. Oh, sorry, I meant to click this one. Ashin said, "This woman is selecting her goods." Yeah, exactly. She's selecting, which is another word for picking. She's selecting, and then goods just is a non specific term like items. And we use goods for physical products that you purchase. She's selecting her goods. Very good. Excellent sentence. Sunshine said, "My neighbor." Oh, I love that. Instead of using this woman or she, my neighbor. Very nicely done. My neighbor. And then always think, what is my subject? I, you, he, she, it, we, they. So my neighbor, because it's singular, would be the subject. She, because we see a woman right here. My neighbor is purchasing few medicines. Yes. Now, you actually want to say a few medicines, which means a small number of. She's purchasing a few medicines, a few items, a few different goods, a few different vegetables, a few groceries. Very nicely said. Okay, Alexander said she's checking calories. Very creative. I like this. She's checking. So in this case, check, you can think of it as verifying. She's checking. She wants to learn what this information is or confirm what it is. So she's reading the ingredients or the information to see how many calories. She's checking calories. Very nice, Alexander. I like that. Okay, Ali says she is comparing two products. Exactly. She has two different products. She's comparing these products. Very nicely written. Okay. We have another comparing products. Very nice. Okay, Dilsol, isn't the woman finding the best before on the boxes? Ah, okay. The best before is the expiry date, the best before date. So on each box, it tells you when it will expire. So right now, today is July 2nd. So if you purchase milk, the best before date might be July 12th or July 20th, probably not too far in the future. So she's isn't the woman finding the best before on the boxes. So this is more of a question tag. If you want to ask a question, you would say, is the woman finding the best before dates on the boxes? Question mark. So is the woman. Very nice. Oh, I like this. Alexander, she's trying to overcome temptation. Very good. So the temptation might be, I really want to eat something with chocolate and sugar and fat and salt, but oh, this one is healthy. This one is unhealthy. So she's trying to overcome that temptation to not buy the unhealthy one and buy the healthy one. Horatio said she's looking for the expiration date. Exactly. You can say expiration date, or you can say expiry date, or best before date. Very good. The grandma is comparing the prices for cookies in the grocery. Exactly. Very nice. So the subject, we can say the grandma. Exactly. We can assume this woman is a grandma. The grandma is comparing the prices for cookies in the grocery. Very nice. You don't need the apostrophe S on grocery. It's just the grocery, which is short for grocery store. But if you say the full form, there wouldn't be an apostrophe S. Okay. So here, a different subject, a nutritionist. So before she was a neighbor, a grandma, and now she's a nutritionist. Isn't this fun? A nutritionist, don't forget your verb to be, comparing content of the similar products. A nutritionist is comparing the content of the similar products. Very nice. Oh, I like this one. Wake up. She's thinking. She is thinking, present continuous. She's thinking about what to buy. Very nice. Okay. I love this. Let's do one more. MD said she is looking a nutritional composition of the product. Yes. So I made this contraction or comment before. You look at something. So she's looking at the nutritional composition because it's specific, the one specific to this product. She's looking at the nutritional composition of the product. Very nicely written. I love that. Everyone is so creative. And now I see another subject. The customer is choosing whether it's good to buy it or look for other commodities. Very nice. We have lots of different subjects, which is awesome. Shows your creativity.
Amazing job practicing your speaking skills. Now let's quickly review the present simple and the present continuous in more detail because I see students confuse these two important verb tenses. This is a mistake that I see students making quite a lot, and this is a mistake that I see my advanced students make. Now, you need to keep in mind that when you use a different verb tense, the meaning changes. So when I hear, I live in Paris, in the present simple, that is different from I'm living in Paris. The meaning is different, and I'm going to interpret them differently simply because of the verb tense you used. Now, our present simple, I live in Paris. Of course, to form the present simple, we just take our base verb, which is the infinitive without to. Remember, we need to conjugate this with our subject. So if it was she, it would be she lives in Paris. Okay, now we use the present simple for routines, like I'm sure you know. But we also use the present simple when we're talking about permanent situations, or you can think of them as simply facts. So when I hear someone say, I live in Paris, I see this as a permanent situation. I live in Paris. I live in Paris today, and I'm going to be living in Paris for the future as well. It's a permanent situation. Now, let's take a look at our next sentence. I'm living in Paris. So this is in the present continuous. Now, of course, we form the present continuous with the verb to be conjugated with our subject. So I'm living, she is, she's living, conjugated with our subject. And then we need our verb in ing form. She's living, I'm living. Now, we use the present continuous for situations taking place right now, right? But we also use the present continuous for temporary situations. So when I hear, I'm living in Paris, I think of this as a temporary situation. So I think you're living in Paris right now, but you don't expect to be living in Paris in the future. When in the future? Well, that isn't clear. But when I hear it, I think of it as a temporary situation. And this is a big difference if you live in Paris permanently or you live in Paris temporarily, right? Because you can imagine if you go to a job interview and then you say to the interviewer, I'm living in Paris, well, they might not think that you're going to be in the city for very long. So they might not consider you as an applicant because they want somebody who's going to be in the position for a long time. But you are only going to be in the city temporarily, right? So that could have a really big impact. Or same thing if you're on a date and you're talking to a potential romantic partner, but you say, I'm living in Paris, well, they might think, well, it's not worthwhile to pursue this relationship because she's going to be moving in the future. So there's a big difference in meaning between these two sentences. So keep in mind, we use the present simple for a permanent situation and the present continuous for a temporary situation. So now it's your turn to practice. I want you to put in the comments one sentence in the present simple that's a permanent situation and one sentence in the present continuous that's a temporary situation. Now let's get back to speaking. You're going to practice speaking out loud again, so let's review our next topic.
You are going to talk about an amazing weekend. Now notice how I said last weekend, because if I just said the word an amazing weekend, you don't know if it's past or future. So I have to give you the keyword, and that time reference keyword is last weekend. So of course, what verb tense are you going to be speaking in? What verb tense are you going to be practicing throughout this English speaking practice class? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Last weekend, even my beginner students know this. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, this is really great practice for you. Of course, you're using the past simple. The past simple because it's a completed past action. Now remember, this is an English speaking practice class. So I want you to answer out loud. I want you to open your mouth and say the answer out loud. Of course, write it in the comments as well, but then open your mouth and say it. Plus, when I read an answer or share an answer, you can also open your mouth and imitate my pronunciation, shadow my pronunciation, so you get comfortable with the way the words are pronounced and also how the sounds are connected, so you sound very fluent, advanced, and natural. So how about your amazing weekend? Well, here is what I want you to share an example on. Of course, you need to use your imagination. So here's an adorable picture that just melts my heart. So last weekend. Now, you can be flexible with the subject. You can say last weekend, of course, you can use the subject I. You can say last weekend, my family. Last weekend, my kids and I, my husband and I, my wife and I, my friend and I, or maybe you're even talking about a third person. Last weekend, my coworker. Last weekend, my best friend. Last weekend, my neighbor. So you don't always have to use the subject I. And in fact, I encourage you to use different subjects because when we practice, we often use the subject I, but you need to practice other subjects. Thankfully for the past simple, thankfully for you, there is no subject verb agreement. So it's the exact same for all subjects, but still it's so useful to practice different subjects. So what about you? What could you say about this? Last weekend, I, last weekend, we, last weekend, my family. What could you say about this picture? And notice I want a positive statement in the past. So while you're thinking of this, while you're imagining the answer, let me say hello because I see a lot of students in the chat. All right. Well, Hello, Alan. So nice having you here. Hello, Mozab. Greetings all the way to Sudan to you. Hello, Belshwar. Very nice having you. And we have Mamuna from Pakistan. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we have a lot of students here. Hello, everyone. Maria, hello. KK, hello. Oh, it's 9 p.m. Well, thank you for staying up with me. I appreciate that. All right, Maria. Last weekend, the family gathered all together. Okay, that's great. Now, how does that relate to the picture on the screen? So what did we gather together to watch? The polar bears, for example. That could be one. Maybe you watched a documentary or a movie about polar bears. That could be one. Now, there's a little mistake in here. Last weekend, the family. I see this a lot from students, even my advanced students. So if you use a possessive my, you don't use an article, the. It's either my family or the family, but you don't use a possessive and an article. A possessive replaces the article. Okay, let's see if we have some examples. AK said, last weekend, my sister came over. Okay. 2, how does that relate to the picture on the screen? 2, watch a movie about polar bears, about bears, to look at the photos I took of polar bears when I was on vacation. So you can start with a simple sentence, but then add more details, make it more complex, get creative. Okay, what do we have here? We have a lot of comments. Moses said, my family and I had an awesome day last weekend. Okay, very nice. That's very nice, everyone. Okay. Nobody is giving me an example about the picture on the screen. So make sure you give me an example with the picture as well, because I want you to get creative. So here we have one. Not this one. Okay, this one. Jonathan said, last week, my family took a photo with bears. Exactly, because took is the past simple of the verb take. Remember, there is no subject verb agreement in the past simple. So it could be any subject and the verb would still be take or took in the past simple. My family took a photo. You take a photo. Sometimes students say make a photo. That's not the verb we use in English. We use took. My family took a photo with bears. Exactly. Excellent job. Now, if you say with bears, it means your family is in the picture as well. And that's great. You can absolutely use your imagination and pretend you're in the picture. But if you're taking a picture of something else, you use the preposition of. My family took a photo of bears. So that's if you're not in the photo and it's just the bears. If you are also in the photo, it's a selfie, you and the bears, then you use the preposition with. Okay. Well, Vlad, you're close. You talked about monkeys instead of bears, but I'll use this. Last weekend, I watched BBC program about monkeys. Well, let's change it to the photo and use bears, about polar bears. Okay, so you are missing an article because program is a countable noun. So you need to add the article, a BBC program about monkeys, or in this case, about polar bears. Rita said, last weekend we watched a movie about polar bears. The film was fantastic. Exactly. And everyone, make sure you're opening your mouth and practicing along as well, practicing that pronunciation, practicing that connected speech. Now, I love how Rita made this simple sentence more complex simply by sharing her opinion on the film. The film was fantastic. Very nicely done. Sandeep said, last weekend we got together to watch a documentary about polar bears' life. Very nice. I like that, Sandeep. Nicely said. The only thing is, documentary is also a single countable noun. So you need an article to watch a documentary about polar bears life. I would just say about polar bears, or you could say about the life of polar bears. The life of polar bears. Very nice. Maria. Maria used the bears as the subject. I love it, Maria. Awesome job. Awesome job, Maria. Okay, last weekend, this bear family. So, bear would be the adjective to describe the family. So, you wouldn't have a plural on it. It's this singular, this family, because family is a collective noun. This family is super cute, adorable, ferocious because they're bears. This bear family, okay, this bear family, you don't need the members. If you use members, now it's actually you need these members. So let's get rid of members. This bear family spent time outside enjoying snow. I love it. And great job getting spent time enjoying, because the expression to spend time, that's a gerund expression, and that's why we have enjoying as the ing. And great job getting spent. That's the past simple of the verb spend. I always spend time with my family. Last weekend, I spent time. So notice that pronunciation of that T. Spent time with my family. Okay. Let's move on to our next photo. Before we do, of course, are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, let me know. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already so you're notified every time I post a lesson, and then put yes, yes, yes so I know you like this lesson. Put yes, yes, yes so I know you want more lessons like this. And now our next photo. Seems like we're on a theme here, an animal theme. I do really love animals. So let's do a positive statement again. So same thing. Last weekend. Now, there are more people in this photo, so maybe you could use they as the subject, or we, or maybe you could talk about your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, or again, maybe you're watching a movie, maybe you're watching a documentary, maybe you're looking at a photo. So it doesn't mean that you experience this personally. You could be looking at a photo. So let me know. Last weekend, they, we, I, this man, this couple, my neighbors. So try different subjects and then we'll see. We'll see how you do. Okay, and everyone is saying yes for more lives. Oh, I'm so glad everyone's enjoying it. I'm so glad. So AK said yes, and Saninia said yes. Maria said yes. William said, of course, awesome. Jonathan said yes. Mew Mew said yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. Edu said yes. And if you're not watching live, if you're watching the replay, still put yes, because I reply to all your comments, and practice along. Share your examples as well, because I reply to the comments. And it doesn't matter if you're watching the replay or the live, we can still interact together, and make sure you still practice your speaking. The King of King. I like that name. Very strong. Says yes. Freddie says, of course. Woohoo. Sania wants a partner. So anyone, practice your speaking with Sania. Say you can arrange a time to practice together. Okay. Belshwar, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm probably not. My apologies. Says, last weekend, two guys washing the elephant on the river. Ah, okay. So you have I think that's just a typo. So I'm going to ignore that. But what verb tense is this in? We have last weekend, which is great, but then washing. You're missing some words or you used the wrong word. So, how can we improve this? How can we correct this? Well, you could say last weekend, two guys washed. So, notice that pronunciation because we have wash. That's the base verb to wash. But then in the ED, the past simple, it's a very soft T. Washed. Washed. Everybody repeat that. Washed. I washed my hair. I washed my hands. He washed the elephant. Okay, it's very soft. And then in a fast conversation or natural speech, you won't hear that T. It will be so soft, you won't even hear it. But you understand based on context because you hear last weekend or yesterday. So you know it's in the past. So last weekend, two guys washed the elephant in the river. In the river. So they are in the river. On would be the surface of. So maybe there is a leaf or a toy floating on the river. So something could be floating on the river. So that would be on the river, but under would be considered in the river. Okay, awesome, everyone. Here's a great one. Beckety said, last week, my friend watched a TV show about elephants in Africa. I love it. Perfect sentence. And I love how you used my friend. Practice using different structures. Or different subjects. It's very useful to get that practice. Now, again, thankfully, with the past simple, there is no subject verb agreement, but it's still fun to practice. Okay, and notice we had washed. I washed my hands, and now I have watched. Wow, isn't that similar in pronunciation? Watched. Watched. Washed, watched. Practice that. Washed, watched. So this one is wash, watched. Practice that. They're very, very similar. And it's context that will make it obvious. I washed my hands. I watched a movie. It's the context that helps you understand which one. Okay, let's keep going. Mozab said, last week we have this concept in English of irregular verbs. In the past simple, there are many irregular verbs. The past simple is generally an easier verb tense for students because there is no subject verb agreement. Many of the verbs end in ed, but there are irregular past simple. So what's the irregular past simple here? I know my smart students know it. What's the irregular past simple? Last week I rode. Exactly. Andrew knew it. Last week I rode an elephant. Okay, awesome. Otherwise, nice sentence. Okay. And William said last week, a couple, excellent. A couple was washing an elephant. Very nice. Now, This is excellent. I love your sentence, William. But technically, what verb tense is this? And this is a great sentence. So excellent job. The couple was washing, because the past simple is washed. Last week, a couple washed an elephant. Now, the past continuous uses the verb to be and the ing. We'll practice that in a different live stream, but excellent sentence, William, because this shows the action in progress rather than a completed past action. Very nice sentence. Okay, Sweetie said, last weekend, my neighbors went to Thailand. Excellent. The irregular of the verb go is went. I'm sure you know that. My neighbors went to Thailand and experienced an elephant ride for the first time. What a nice sentence. Bravo. Excellent job. I love how you said experienced an elephant ride for the first time. So adding those small details really makes your sentence sound advanced. Great job. Okay. Barrow said, last week we bounced off about an elephant theme park in Africa and mustered up all papers on the desk. Very nice. Very nice. Excellent job. Very creative as well. This could absolutely be an elephant theme park. Excellent job. Okay. Ines said, last weekend I saw a documentary. So see is the base verb and saw is the irregular past simple. I saw a documentary in which it was talked about of elephants in danger. Oh, very nice. Yes. Last weekend, I saw a documentary which talked about elephants in danger. So you had some extra words that aren't needed. The documentary which talked about talk about something. You don't need that extra preposition. Talked about elephants in danger. Excellent sentence. Very nice. Rashmi said, last weekend I visited a national park. So notice the pronunciation here. What do you notice? Visited. Visited. So the base verb is visit, visit. And then when you have the past simple, what happens? Visited, visited, visited. So you add that extra syllable. That's because the word visit ends in a T. If the word ends in a T or a D, for example, need, needed, want, wanted. So if it ends in a D or a T, you add an extra syllable only for those two. They end in a T or a D. I visited a national park. There, I saw an elephant enjoying his bath with his instructors. I love it. Very nice sentence. Excellent job. Okay, wow. We have a lot of comments. I would love to read them all, but let's continue on. Okay. Ooh, something I would probably not do. What about you? Would you do this activity? Last weekend, you can use the subject I, she, my wife, my sister, my mother, my aunt, my coworker, my neighbor, my girlfriend, my fiance, whatever subject you want. Let's practice different subjects. Oh, last weekend, she, or maybe you want to use yourself as well. Last weekend, has anyone done anything like this? I know this is a popular thing for tourists to do. I don't know if I would personally do this. Last weekend, here we go. Manuel said, oh, good job, Manuel. You're brave. Last weekend, I was scuba diving. Very nice. I was scuba diving in the middle of sharks. Yes. So that's the activity that she's doing. If you're not familiar, this is called scuba diving. Exactly as Manuel wrote it. He wrote it. The spelling is perfect. Great job. Now, I was scuba diving. You can also use the verb go. So if we're talking about the past simple, last weekend, the past simple of the verb go, I went scuba diving. I was scuba diving. Both of them are correct. In the middle of sharks. Wow. Whales and dolphins in the south of Tenerife. Very nice, Manuel. Very nice. Okay. Oh, this is from the last one, but I like this because this is an interesting one. I dreamed. Exactly. So I talked about, oh, maybe you saw a picture or you watched a movie or a friend told you about this experience. But what if you just had a dream? I love it, Andrew. Very creative. Last weekend, I dreamed about, and notice you dream about something. Oh, what did you dream about last night? Did you have any interesting dreams? I dreamt that, or I dreamt about going scuba diving with sharks. Okay, very nicely done. Jamie said, last weekend I was snorkeling in the beach with my wife. Yeah, very nice. So the activity here, like I said before, is called scuba diving. Snorkeling is very similar, but with snorkeling, you don't have oxygen. So notice how in her hand she has oxygen so she can stay under the water for long periods of time. And generally, when you scuba dive, you go very deep in the water. But when you snorkel, you just have the mask, and then there's a little stick with a tube, and you stay closer to the surface of the water. And you generally don't go deep in the water. So, excellent job. You can absolutely use snorkeling, just so you know the difference between scuba diving and snorkeling. Very nice. Zachariah said, last week I was scuba diving in the middle of sharks for a couple of hours. Yeah, exactly. You can use in the middle of, that's correct. You can also simply use the preposition with. I was scuba diving with sharks, with sharks. So generally, when you're a tourist, you might see a brochure, a pamphlet, a flyer, an advertisement that says scuba diving with sharks, scuba diving with sharks, or swimming with sharks, maybe swimming with dolphins, swimming with sharks, swimming with whales, things like that. Okay. Here we go. Rita said, last weekend, my sister went diving. Absolutely. You can also drop the scuba and just say diving, especially in the scuba diving community. People who do it as an activity, they probably just talk about it as diving. Oh, are you going diving? Where did you go diving? Let's go diving. Last weekend, my sister went diving. She practices this activity twice a week. Excellent job expanding on this very simple sentence and adding more information. And great job changing your verb tense to the present simple because this is now a routine action. Really nicely done. I love that. Oh, here's an interesting one. Barrow said, last week, I remembered my oath at college and fulfilled it by having a photo taken in the aqua park pool with some drowsy and calm sharks. This is very creative. So I remembered my oath. So an oath is, for example, Barrow said when he was in college, he said to his friends, I promise one day or before I turn 30, I'm going to go swimming with sharks. So now he fulfilled that oath. Very nicely done. Okay. Oh, here's a different one. Last weekend, I entered under the sea to hunt a shark. Oh, wow. That's very creative. Very nice. I like that. Under the sea. Okay. How about let's move on to a different structure. So let's practice. Oh, let's practice. We already did this one. So how about we're going to skip this? Let's do a negative. We haven't practiced negatives yet. So we practiced positives. Let's move on and do a negative. So I gave you the model here just to help you. But remember, the past simple is easy because you don't have to change your verb conjugation with the subject. Okay, so we have subject, didn't as the contraction, did not, didn't, and then the base verb. And of course, you can add more information to make this a more advanced subject as well. Now, of course, because we're using didn't, I chose some pictures that are a little more negative. So, based on this picture, what did this man, this student, your friend, your brother, your boyfriend, your husband, your coworker, your neighbor, or you didn't do? So think of the subject, think of the activity, but remember it has to be negative. Okay. Yeah, so he is not, that is the present simple. But we want to make this in the past. So Manuel said he did not pass the final task. I'm afraid of it. Well, don't be afraid of it, Manuel. I'm sure you'll do great. Okay, excellent job. And remember to sound more like a native speaker, to sound more advanced, fluent, natural. You can take that did not and repeat after me. Didn't, didn't. So notice how I'm not really pressing out that T. Didn't. That's the full pronunciation. Didn't, didn't. He didn't pass the final task. Excellent sentence. Okay, Freddie said, even though she studied all time, she unfortunately failed her test. Wow, great job, Freddie, making it more advanced by adding a clause, even though. Okay, just a couple things I want to help you out with. Even though is 2 words, even though she studied all the time. You need the all the time. Even though she studied all the time, she unfortunately, I like how you added unfortunately as well. She unfortunately failed her test. So here the verb is fail, pass, and then fail. She unfortunately failed her test. Now, technically, this is a positive statement because it's not using didn't, but still, great job, Freddie. I like your sentence. Really nicely done. Okay. Julia said, last weekend, I didn't burn the midnight oil for sitting the exam. That a foregone conclusion was most likely the unfavorable outcome. Very nice. I like this. I didn't burn the midnight oil. Very nice. So if I burned, that would be the past simple. I burned the midnight oil. That means I worked late into the night. And it could be I worked at my job or I studied as well. I worked late into the night. I studied late into the night, but I didn't. I didn't burn the midnight oil. So I stopped studying around 3 p.m., watched a movie about sharks, and then I failed. Okay, Horatio said, my friend didn't pass any exam. Yeah. I think he won't graduate this year. Oh, very nice. I like how you added on your opinion. I think he won't graduate this year. Very nice. Nice to make it more advanced. My friend didn't pass. If you use any, then you need to add an S to your noun. My friend didn't pass any exams. Any exams. Okay. This is a good one. I didn't get the result. Exactly. So think more creatively. I didn't get the result of the final exam. Very nice. So your verb is get in the base verb. Okay. I like this one. Despite having stayed up all night. So notice here, you can say all night, but with the word time, you can't say all time, all the time, all night, all morning, all afternoon, all weekend, all the time. So that's an exception with the word time. Despite having stayed up all night to prepare for the exam, excellent. He didn't do well. Exactly. I did well, but then the negative. I didn't do well. He didn't do well. Very good. He didn't get the job. Exactly. This is creative. He didn't want to pass the test and he did it. I think you just have a typo for there. And he did it. Exactly. Maybe he didn't want to pass because if he passes the test, he'll get into this specific school that his parents want him to go to. But he doesn't want to go to that school. So he failed the test on purpose. Oh, we're being creative now. Very nice. Okay, I like this one, Susan. My cousin is very stressed because he didn't get good results in his final exams. Very nice. I like how you added just a little more information. Simply adding this one piece of information, my cousin is very stressed, it makes it sound more advanced. Really nicely done, everyone. Excellent job. Oh, Jamie said he didn't study for the exam because of video games. Exactly. He was too busy playing video games. He didn't study. Exactly. Oh, here's a good one. Asham said he didn't hit the jackpot with passing his final exam. Yeah, because if you hit the jackpot, so the verb is hit, but in the past simple, the verb hit is still hit. So the verb hit is irregular. All three conjugations are hit. I hit the jackpot last week. So this means you achieved a great result, but we often use this because of luck. So I hit the jackpot by getting an amazing client, for example, and it was just luck, but he didn't hit the jackpot. Very nice. Oh, Julia is so sweet. She's encouraging you to smash that like button to support this channel. A lot of YouTubers say that smash that like button. It just means to press like with a lot of force and enthusiasm. Thank you, Julia. That's very sweet of you for promoting that. I appreciate it. And yes, everybody smash that like button and smash subscribe as well. Okay, Lychee said he didn't brush up on his subject. Excellent job. So the phrasal verb is to brush up on something. This is a phrasal verb that requires two prepositions, up, on. You use on when you're identifying the topic. But this is negative. So in the past simple, I brushed up on algebra. So algebra is the subject. So if you brush up on it, it means you review it, you try to remember your past knowledge of algebra. He didn't brush up on his subject. Very nicely done. And Jonathan, smash that like button. Thank you so much. Okay. How about this one? Oh, last weekend. This will have to be a little bit creative because we have this picture of a broken bone. So he broke his bone, which is so to break a bone. That is the expression to break a bone. And then you can be specific. Well, which bone? I have many bones in my body. To break one's leg. He broke his leg. Okay. So that's the past simple, but what could a negative be? Ooh, honestly, I don't know. You're going to have to get creative. So maybe it could be this, I don't know if this is a man or a woman, this man, this woman, this, it looks like a younger person, this boy, this girl, this child, my neighbor, my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, I, my husband, my wife, whatever the subject might be. But what could be a negative statement that describes this picture? Huh. Lychee said, last weekend he didn't mind his steps and broke his bone. Very nice. So he didn't mind his steps. So if you mind his steps, your steps, if you mind your steps, it means you're careful about your foot placement. So if there is an uneven surface, there might be a sign that says mind the step. Mind the step. So it means be careful with the steps. Pay attention to the steps. Be cautious of the steps. Last weekend, he didn't mind his steps and broke his bone. Very, very creative. I like it. Okay. So we have a negative in here. We have a negative. This is also very creative because Dindy said, last weekend, I went hiking because you go hiking. Go hiking because hiking is a physical activity. And we often use go with physical activities, go and the verb and ing. I went hiking. That's the past simple and broke my leg. That's the past simple, but very creative, adding on a negative sentence. I didn't like it. Excellent job. Very nice. Okay. Zishan said, my friend didn't know the consequences of fast driving. Oh, very nice. So the friend didn't know the consequences when he drove very quickly, but then he found out the consequences because the consequence was he broke his leg. Anna said, last month I didn't have a good time because my son broke his knee. Exactly. I think that's just a typo on the word broke, but there's no R, just broke, oak, broke. Because my son broke his knee. So I didn't have a good time. Exactly. I didn't have a relaxing weekend because I had to drive my neighbor to the hospital, maybe. Oh, as Ezat said, he didn't sleep well. Excellent, very creative. So I slept well. That's the past simple. I slept well. I didn't sleep well. He didn't sleep well last night and he is not focused. Okay, the last part I'm not too sure of because you focus on something. So it's a little incomplete to me, but your first part of the sentence is perfect. Okay. Last weekend, Andrew says, last weekend, my cousin had a car accident. Yeah, so you can have a car accident, to have a car accident, and then the past simple is had. So irregular, I'm sure you know that. Last weekend, my cousin had a car accident. Fortunately, he was not in dangerous situation. He just broke his left leg bone. Exactly. Very nice. So he wasn't in, I would say, so a situation, and then you need an adjective, a dangerous situation. Otherwise, you could get rid of situation and just say he was not in danger, period, or in a dangerous situation. Okay, excellent job, everyone. Let's try another one here. Okay. Another negative statement. A picture that is maybe a little confusing. So, what could be the negative? And then again, think of your subject. She, my sister, my girlfriend, my teacher, my neighbor, my coworker, I. What's your subject? Be creative. And then what is the negative? What is the negative? Well, think about this. And then I just saw one from the last picture. So while you're thinking about this one, his broken leg didn't stop him. Excellent job of the past simple in the negative. And then the subject here is actually his broken leg. So as the subject, it would be it because I, you, he, she, it. So it's not he didn't or you didn't, we didn't. The subject is it, which represents his broken leg. It didn't stop him from going out. Really nicely said. Awesome job. Okay, what can you guys think about with this picture? Last weekend, Miraj said, last weekend, my friend didn't expect. Oh, so excellent. So the base verb is expect, to expect something to happen. I expected the storm. So you expect something, you don't expect about something. It's just I expected the storm. I expected to break my leg. So my last weekend my friend didn't expect the situation, the exacerbated situation of this assignment. Yeah, excellent job. So just instead of about, change it to the, because it's the situation and then exacerbated is the adjective, the exacerbated situation of this assignment. Very nicely written. Great job. Ashen said, last weekend she didn't have a blast by reading her book. Exactly. She didn't have a blast. So to have a blast means to have a great time, but she looks bored or tired. So she didn't have a blast. You don't need by. You can just say she didn't have a blast doing something. So you just need that gerund. She didn't have a blast reading her book. Okay. Anna said, my sister, excellent job choosing a subject. My sister didn't want to read. Exactly. She didn't want to read. My sister didn't want to read, so she climbed up a tree and had a rest on it. Exactly. Very nicely done adding this additional information with your positive past simple and just have a introduction in the negative. Really nicely done. Okay, so let's move on. And this time, a question. A question. So for the question form, you need did, subject, and then base verb. So think of what the subject is, think of what's going on in this weird picture, and then what could be a question. So you see this, maybe your friend posted this on Instagram or wherever on social media in a WhatsApp group, or your friend sent you this photo with no explanation. And so you want to ask your friend a question about this photo. Okay. So Jonathan asked a question. Did you pass a fun weekend? Nice question form. You started with did, subject. The only thing is in English, we don't use pass a fun weekend. That's probably what you use in your native language for the verb choice, but in English, we don't use it. We use the verb have. Did you have a fun weekend? Did you have a fun weekend? But perfect question, Jonathan. Okay. Excellent job. When did you go on a tour? Yeah, absolutely. So my question was more of a simple question, but you can ask a WH question. When, who, what, where, why, and then we generally include how in the WHs, even though it doesn't start with WH. When did you go on a tour? So if you say, did you go on a tour? Of course, the answer is yes, I did. No, I didn't. But if when did you go on a tour? It's assuming they went on a tour and you just want to know when. Excellent job. Okay. So let's look at this one because we need to correct something here. Of course, it's just a typo at the beginning, did instead of dis. I know you meant to write did, so that's just a typo. But did they, what do we need? Because you need did subject, which you have, but you need the base verb, Did they get? And then you also need engaged. So the ed, because it's the adjective form. Get engaged. Get engaged. Did they get engaged? Did they get engaged? Excellent job. Very nice question. And yeah, maybe that's why they're celebrating. Did they get engaged? Okay. And Najib said, did you have fun while celebrating your alone time around the world? Exactly. Did you have fun? Very good. Anna asked, did you go on holiday in the USA? Exactly. You can go on holiday. Did you go on holiday in the USA? Very nice. Okay. Yes, exactly. So Najib, get engaged. This is the correct spelling. So did you get engaged? Very nice. Farrelson asked, did you have fun with us? Exactly. Did you have fun with us? And Mamuna asked, did you make some new friends? Exactly. You make friends. And then, did you make some new friends? I don't recognize some of the people in this picture. Yeah, because Mamuna is asking her friend who posted this on social media or sent her the picture. Very nice. Very nice. Well, as I read some more, here is the next picture. So, did whoever these people are, again, you can imagine your friend posted this on their Instagram or sent you this in a WhatsApp or a text, and you want to ask a question about this picture. Okay. Farrelson asked, why did you move to a new house? Excellent. So remember, to add that WH, it's very easy. You just put it right at the front because the question is, did you move to a new house? And then it's a yes or no. But if you ask why, now you're not answering yes or no. You're providing the reason. Why did you move to a new house? Excellent job. Very nice. Here's a good one. Janet asked, how did you take this picture of us? I really like that. Really. Okay. Did you take this picture of us? That's the basic question. And then you can add a WH. Why? Why did you take this picture of us? When did you take this picture of us? But I like this. How? How did you take this picture? I didn't see you with a camera. You were inside the whole time. How did you get this picture of us outside? Great job. I like that. Okay, did you already? What do we need? The next word. Did, subject, base verb, base verb. Did you already load the car? So if you use already, then you don't use yet. Did you load the car yet? Did you load the car yet? Or did you already load the car? Excellent. Did Maria stay in bed this morning? Exactly. So maybe there was supposed to be a third person helping with this move, but she's not in the picture. So did Maria stay in bed this morning? I like that. Manuel asked, oh, no, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I meant to put up this comment actually. Manuel asked, did they sell their house? And okay, so did they sell their house? When you have the word and, you need the same grammar as the first verb. So did they sell their house? Did they move to a new one? So you move to a new house. This is a mistake I see where students change the grammar of the verb after and. Did they sell their house and move to a new one? Excellent job, Manuel. Okay. How about this picture? This is a fun one. Your friend posted this on Instagram. Your friend sent this to you on WhatsApp. Now, what question would you ask your friend about this photo? And remember, the subject can be any subject. Did your sister, did your family, did your kids, did your husband, did you, of course, you can use you as well. Did they, did your friends and you? Okay. So, what could the subject be? And then what is a question you're going to ask about this picture? Looks like a fun picture. So, Dindy asked, did you enjoy the amusement park? Exactly. Did you enjoy the amusement park? And it's so funny. Asham asked the exact same question. Very nice. Great minds think alike. So, Dindy, Asham, you have great minds. You think alike. Oh, Freddie asked, did you like? Very nice. Now, notice the next verb is in ing because the base verb is the verb like. So now the next verb has to be conjugated according to the previous verb, like, and then your next verb is ing. Did you like riding on roller coasters? Excellent question, Freddie. Very nice. Liam asked, how long? Very nice. So the question is, how long did it take to ride the Ferris wheel? Yeah, how long did it take to go in a complete circle? Very nice question, very advanced, adding that how. How long did it take to ride the Ferris wheel? Very nicely written. Jonathan asked, did your girlfriend? Yeah, your friend posted this and you know your friend's not on vacation. So did your girlfriend go on vacation? Very nice. And you go on vacation. Excellent job, everyone. There are so many amazing comments here. Did you play games? Exactly. Did you play games? Did you play any games at the amusement park? Oh, did you get motion sickness when you went on the roller coaster? When you went on the roller coaster. You could also use the verb ride in the past simple when you rode the roller coaster. So you can go on a roller coaster or you can ride a roller coaster. Did you get motion sickness? Oh, that's that feeling of, motion sickness. Very nice question. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting question, Paulo. What's the most thrilling attraction in this amusement park? Very nice question. Yeah, absolutely, Mamadou. You can ask about the weather. Did you enjoy the weather? So you don't have to use the word around. If you use around, you would have to specify something. Did you enjoy the weather around that part of the city? But it would sound better to just say, did you enjoy the weather? Did you enjoy the weather? Yugari asked, did you get a discount for the ticket? Yeah, it's a discount. Did you get a discount? Excellent question.
You did such a great job. Now let's quickly review the past simple and the present perfect in more detail. Let's compare two sentences. I saw that movie. I've seen that movie. I'm sure you know that I saw that movie is the past simple and I've seen that movie is the present perfect. Easy, right? Let's quickly review the structure. To form the past simple, you need the subject and the past simple verb, which is either the base verb plus ed or an irregular verb. In this case, we have an irregular verb because it isn't I seed that movie with ed, it's I saw that movie. So it's an irregular past simple. To form the present perfect, you need the subject, have or has, depending on the subject, and you need the past participle. For the subjects, I, you, we, and they, you need have. And for the subjects, he, she, it, you need has. I have seen that movie, she has seen that movie. Now let's talk about how to use these verb tenses because native speakers use them in ways that most students don't use correctly. Of course, the past simple is used for a completed past action. I saw that movie. But did you know that the present perfect is also used with a completed past action? However, there has to be a result in the present. That's why we call it the present perfect. So just remember that present, completed past action, but result or impact in the present right now. I've seen that movie. So what could be the result in the present? I've seen that movie, so now I don't want to watch it. So now I can tell you about it. So now we can discuss it and I can share my opinion. So always remember there's a so now with the present perfect when it's a completed past action. But very important, native speakers rarely say the so now. It's just implied based on context. So your friend could invite you over and say, do you want to come over and watch Barbie tonight? And you can reply back and say, I've seen it. Now your friend understands the so now you don't want to watch Barbie. You don't need to vocalize that, and most native speakers will not vocalize it. So you might say, I've seen it, And then ask your friend, have you seen the new Leo movie? Did you notice I used the present perfect in that question? Have you seen the new Leo movie? We also use the present perfect to talk about life experience, things we have and haven't done in our lives until now. For example, have you ever eaten sushi? To reply, you can say, no, I haven't eaten sushi, or yes, I have. Yes, I have is the short form. The full form would be, yes, I have eaten sushi. You could add on and say, I ate it last year for the first time. This is the past simple because it's a completed past action. You could also add on, I lived in Japan for a year. Again, this is the past simple, a completed past action. You do not live in Japan now. What if you said, I've lived in Japan for a year? This is the present perfect, and it's used for an action that started in the past and continues until now and will continue into the future indefinitely. Now, it's important to note that you can use the present perfect or the present perfect continuous interchangeably with three common verbs: live, work, study. I've lived in Japan for a year. I've been living in Japan for a year. They're exactly the same, but this is only for those three verbs: live, work, and study. You could say, I didn't eat sushi when I lived in Japan. This is in the past simple because it's a completed time reference. It's impossible for you to eat sushi now because the whole time reference is in the past. But you could also say, I haven't eaten sushi yet. This is the present perfect, and it's an unfinished time reference because it's still possible for you to eat sushi now. Why? Because you're alive. You could eat sushi tomorrow or next week. So it's an unfinished time reference. So let's review our uses. For the past simple, you can use it for a completed past action or life experience with a finished time reference. For the present perfect, you can use it with a completed past action with a result in the present, life experience with an unfinished time reference, and with an action that started in the past and continues until now with those three common verbs, which are live, work, and study. Now let's review some common mistakes that I hear students make again and again with these two very important verb tenses. Let's review this sentence. I've tried sushi last week. What's the mistake in this sentence? Do you know? You can't use a specific time reference, last week. That's a specific time reference. You can't use a specific time reference with the present perfect. So how would you correct this sentence? Write it in the comments. I ate sushi last week. Because you have last week, you need the past simple. Some common specific time references are yesterday, last month, last week, last year, in 2020, at 3:30 p.m., assuming now it's after 3:30, 4 years ago, on July 15th, which is in the past, when I graduated, because you graduated at a specific time in the past, perhaps July 15th, 2020. During the meeting, again, the meeting took place at a specific time on Monday at 3:30, and today's Tuesday, so it's in the past. How about this sentence? We've lived here since 10 years. What's the mistake? Do you know? The mistake is confusing for or since. One of the most common mistakes. How can you fix this sentence? Put it in the comments. We've lived here for 10 years. We've lived here since 2013. You need for plus a duration and since plus a starting point. 2013 is the starting point for that action, which continues until now because it's in the present perfect. Because remember, you can use the present perfect or the present perfect continuous with which three verbs? Live, work, and study. You got it. Now I'm going to quiz you to see how well you really know the past simple and the present perfect. Are you ready? Question 1, she breakfast an hour ago. Do you need the past simple or the present perfect? And how do you conjugate it? Put your answer in the comments. She ate breakfast an hour ago. Past simple, because it's a completed past action with a specific past time reference, an hour ago. And notice eat is an irregular verb, she ate. Question 2, you need to rewrite the sentence so it's in the present perfect. The sentence is, she ate breakfast an hour ago. How would you rewrite this in the present perfect? Put it in the comments. She has already eaten breakfast. You don't need already, that's optional. She has eaten breakfast, so now she's not hungry. But remember, a native speaker won't communicate that so now. So you can simply say, she's eaten breakfast. She's already eaten breakfast. So you need to get rid of that past time reference. It can't exist with the present perfect. Question 3, we 3 paintings so far. Do you need the past simple or the present perfect? How do you conjugate it? Put the correct answer in the comments. We have bought 3 paintings so far. This is in the present perfect because it's possible for you to buy more paintings. You can go to the store tomorrow or next week. So it's an unfinished time reference because you're alive. So it's still possible for you to buy more paintings. We have bought 3 paintings so far. Question 4, rewrite this sentence so it's in the past simple. We have bought 3 paintings so far. We bought, past simple, irregular verb. We bought 3 paintings last week, yesterday, an hour ago. You simply need a past time reference. Question 5, Ling as a realtor from 2005 to 2015. Do you need the past simple, present perfect? Put the correct answer in the comments. Ling worked as a realtor because it's a completed past action. Your final question, you know what to do. Rewrite the sentence so it's in the present perfect. Ling has worked as a realtor, and now we need since 2005, or we can use for 20 years. But because it's in the present perfect, it means Ling is still a realtor now, whereas in the past simple, she is no longer a realtor. Before we move on to the next speaking topic, let's review the most common irregular verb conjugations because you need to know these for all verb tenses, and it's still a common mistake I hear in all students. So let's quickly review them now. Now, as we're going through these irregular verbs, I want you to stop when you get to a verb that is new to you, and I want you to leave an example sentence in the comments so you get some practice with this new irregular verb, and you'll remember it a lot better. The first verb is the most common verb in English, the verb to be. To be, was, or were, been. Notice for the past simple, we have 2 choices, was or were. Your choice depends on the subject. I, he, she, it was. Yesterday, I was sick. Yesterday, he was sick. Were is for you, we, and they. We were sick yesterday. They were sick yesterday. The participle been, I haven't been sick in years. Become, became, become. Yesterday, I became sick. Have you become sick? Begin, began, begun. I began the project 2 weeks ago. Have you begun the project yet? Bring, brought, brought. She brought chocolates to the party. She had already brought the chocolates by the time I came. Buy, bought, bought. She bought new shoes last week. She had bought the shoes before she got the promotion. Choose, chose, chosen. Notice the pronunciation difference between our base verb, choose, and the past and the participle. Choose, chose. Ooh, oh. Choose, chose, chosen. She chose me for her team. Who had chosen that book? Come, came, come. She came home late. Has she come to the party yet? Do, did, done. I did the chores. Have you done the chores? Drink, drank, drunk. She drank the entire bottle. She's drunk 2 bottles so far. Drive, drove, driven. Who drove you here? I was driven by my friend. Eat, ate, eaten. I ate early yesterday. Have you eaten yet? Fall, fell, fallen. She fell really hard. She had fallen before it rained. Feel, felt, felt. I felt bad. I haven't felt fabric like that before. Find, found, found. I found $10 on the street. Have you ever found money before? Fly, flew, flown. They flew to Paris last week. I've flown 5 times this year. Forget, forgot, forgotten. Oh no, I forgot to buy milk. Have you ever forgotten someone's birthday? Get, got, or gotten. You can use either one in the past participle form, got or gotten. Gotten is more common in American English. Yesterday, I got a speeding ticket. Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket? Give, gave, given. I gave her a box of chocolates. Have you ever given someone chocolates? Go, went, gone. Such a common verb, but I hear a lot of mistakes with the verb go. Go, went, gone. Yesterday, we went to the store. They've been gone for 20 minutes. Have, had, had. She had a great time yesterday. We've had a great time since we got here. Hear, heard, heard. Yesterday, I heard the best song. Have you ever heard that song? Keep, kept, kept. The politician kept his promise. Have you kept your photos from your trip? Know, knew, known. I knew she did it. I've known him for 10 years. Leave, left, left. She left at 5 o'clock. She had already left by the time I came. Lend, lent, lent. I lent him some money. Have you ever lent anyone money? Let, let. That one's easy. She let me keep the money. I've let 5 people into the room so far. Lose, lost, lost. I lost their number. Have you ever lost your wallet? Make, made, made. They made a terrible mistake. Have you ever made a promise that you didn't keep? Meet, met, met. We met last week. Have you met Fred yet? Pay, paid, paid. I already paid the bill. She had paid the bill by the time I got back from the bathroom. Put, put, put. That one's easy. I put my new shoes in the closet. Have you put away your groceries yet? Read, read, read. Notice the spelling is exactly the same, but the pronunciation changes. Read, read, read. Yesterday, I read my book for 20 minutes. Have you read his autobiography yet? Run, ran, run. He ran a marathon last week. We've run 3 tests so far. Say, said, said. Who said that? She had said that before our conversation. See, saw, seen. I saw a movie last week. Have you seen that movie yet? Sell, sold, sold. We sold our car. Have you sold your house yet? Send, sent, sent. We sent the package last week. Have you sent the package yet? Sing, sang, sung. She sang in the shower yesterday. Have you ever sung in the shower? Sit, sat, sat. She sat down and broke the chair. Have you ever sat beside someone famous? Sleep, slept, slept. I slept terrible last night. Have you ever slept outside? Speak, spoke, spoken. Who spoke at the wedding? I haven't spoken to her in years. Stand, stood, stood. He stood me up. Have you ever been stood up? When someone stands you up, it means you made plans with someone, usually romantically, like a date, but the other person didn't show up. They didn't come to the restaurant at 7 o'clock like they said they would. So, have you ever been stood up? Or have you ever stood someone up? Hopefully not. Swim, swam, swum. I swam in the ocean last week. I haven't swum in the ocean for 5 years. Take, took, taken. She took our photo. Have you taken anyone's photo before? Teach, taught, taught. She taught them how to use irregular verbs. Have you ever taught someone how to use irregular verbs? Tell, told, told. She told me the truth. Have you ever told a lie? Think, thought, thought. I thought it was a good idea. Have you thought about moving? Understand, understood, understood. I understood her explanation. Have you understood all these irregular verbs? Wear, wore, worn. She wore her green dress to the party. She hasn't worn her blue dress yet. Write, wrote, written. I wrote the answer in my notebook. Have you written the essay yet? Think of how much you learned already. Now let's move on with our next speaking topic.
I chose this topic very purposely. The topic is my friend's daily routine. Notice it's my friend's daily routine. So if you are talking about your friend's daily routine, what verb tense are you going to use? Maybe you might think of some keywords like every day, always, usually. what keyword would you use? What verb tense would you use with these keywords? Well, of course, you know this. All students know that with the daily routine, you need the present simple. Of course, you know that. This might seem like a very beginner topic to you, but my most advanced students still make mistakes with the present simple when they're talking about he, she, or it, which we can do with my friend, because my friend as a subject would be he, she. Of course, not it. It would be for things like an organization or a team. So let's practice this. And remember, because you're using the third person singular in the present simple, you need to make sure you get that S or ES on the verb. So here is your first question. And as we're doing this, of course, you need to answer out loud. Put your answer in the chat so I can review it, help you make sure it's correct. And if you're watching the replay, still put your answer in the chat as well. I'll review it, make sure it's correct. But after that, I want you to open your mouth and speak in English. Open your mouth and speak in English so you practice speaking. So here we go. Here's your first picture. Now remember, this is your friend's daily routine. You can change this to any third person singular. So maybe it could be my sister, my brother, my husband, my wife, my mom, my dad, my uncle, my aunt, my neighbor, my coworker, but it has to be one person. So there are 3 people in this image, but I want you to choose one. You could choose the baby as the subject. You could choose the woman. Maybe it's your mother, your sister, your friend, your coworker, or you can choose the man. And let's look at the keyword always. Always. I want you to look at the picture and think of one thing that's part of your friend's daily routine using the keyword always. So, what could you say? She always, he always, the baby always. And then we just need a verb. And don't forget to put that S or ES on the verb as well. Okay, so here we have Mozab is practicing the present simple. Well, this is actually the present continuous because you have the verb to be, they are, and you have your verb in ing. That is the present continuous. And plus, in this practice class, we are going to focus on the subject, he or she, or if there's a chance for it, you can use that as well. So let's look at that. Okay, my mom always makes breakfast. Exactly. My mom always makes breakfast. So notice the placement of the adverb always. Always is an adverb of frequency. It represents 7 times per week. Always. My mom is the subject. She always makes breakfast. So you put subject, adverb of frequency, verb, and in this case, you need to add the S or the ES. And then you can add more information. Okay. Enoch said, the baby, awesome, using the baby as a subject. This could be he or she. I'm not sure based on this baby. The baby always takes part in the preparation food. Excellent sentence. Very nicely done. Notice you have the phrasal verb to take part in, and you take part in something. So in this case, the something is the food preparation. Notice how I switched your word order. It's the food preparation, the food preparation. And you added your S. The baby always takes part in the food preparation. Very nicely done. Okay, Abdo said he always carries the baby. Excellent job. And notice for spelling, carry as a verb, it ends in Y. So for spelling, you change the Y to I. And in this case, you add ES instead of just S. Carries, ease. And notice it adds that ease, that long extra syllable. Carries, carries, carries. He always carries the baby. Repeat after me. He always carries the baby. Okay, excellent. And make sure you're opening your mouth and you're speaking out loud to practice. All right. We're focusing on the baby here. Why not? That's fun. The baby always. Oh, interesting. So we have another verb with that ends in a Y. So what do we need to do for correct spelling and correct verb conjugation? Because this is the mistake I see. And don't worry, Rahim, this is a very common mistake. Even my most advanced students make this mistake, and that's why we're practicing it. And the reason why you make this mistake, of course, you know the rule. You need to add an S or ES in the present simple to the subjects he, she, and it. But the thing is, most students, they don't practice those subjects enough, so they don't get that repetition. That's all you need. So I see a correct answer from Karen. The baby always cries. So notice you change the Y to I, and then you add ES for spelling. Cries. But in this case, there is no extra syllable. So listen to that pronunciation. Cries. Cries. Repeat after me. Cries. Before we had carries with two sounds, carries. Repeat after me, carries. Cries. All right, she cries when she sees me. Nice sentence, very nicely done. All right. So, how about this one? Horatio is using my neighbor, which is excellent because the subject could be he or she. Neighbor is gender neutral. We don't know if it's he or she, it could be either. My neighbor always takes care of his baby while his wife cooks. Excellent job. Very nice sentence. So notice you take care of something or someone. In this case, of course, someone takes care of his baby. Very nicely done, everyone. Everyone is doing such a great job. So let me ask you, are you enjoying this lesson? Do you like these lessons where we practice certain topics? You get the chance to write an example sentence, practice out loud, have me review it, and give you feedback. If you like this style of lesson, well, then, of course, like it, subscribe, and put yes, yes, yes in the comments so I know you want me to keep making lessons like this. And even if I don't review your specific example, because there are so many examples, you're still learning a lot from the other students' examples as well. So I hope you like this style of lesson. Let's see. Well, we have some yeses coming in already. Dindy said yes. Anoke said yes. Woohoo. We have some more yeses. Horatio said yes. Ava said yes. Awesome. I'm very happy. Mozab said yes. All right. Aw, well, love you right back. Okay, so let's practice a different adverb of frequency. So notice here, we have a group. Now, as a collective noun, you can refer to everyone in this picture as the group. The group, and then you can conjugate it as third person singular because the group in English is a collective noun. The group. Okay. But you can also just look at one specific person and say she or he, the woman with sunglasses, the man with sunglasses, the man wearing a watch to help identify who this is. Or you can look at this adorable little puppy. Now, in English, we generally use the subject it for wild animals, but with our own pets, because we love our pets, we consider them like our family, we generally use the subject he or she. So for this puppy, you could say the dog, the puppy, he, she, or it. So there are many different subjects you can use for the dog. And remember, you can use the group as well. Okay, and our adverb of frequency here is every day. Every day. There's something different that you need to do with this adverb every day. Does anybody know? Okay. We go to the forest for a picnic every day. Yes, that's very nicely written. Excellent job. It's in the present simple. And you have the correct placement of the time reference every day. So with adverbs of frequency that have every day, every morning, every afternoon, every weekend, every year, you put the adverb either at the very beginning or the very end. Excellent job. The only thing is, this is not a collective noun. You use the subject we, which is absolutely fine, but let's practice using the collective noun. So you could use the group or she or he. So here, Fabio gave us one with the group. The group gathers every day to kick around ideas about their next trip. I really like this, Fabio. Nicely done. The group gathers every day. Now, the placement, I said at the beginning or the end, which are the most common placements. But in some verbs, you can put it after the verb and it sounds okay. So to be honest, this sounds okay to me, but that's an exception because there are many verbs where it wouldn't sound okay to put every day after the verb. So to be safe, I recommend putting it at the very beginning or the very end. The group every day the group gathers, so they gather, they meet each other, they gather to kick around. Kick around is a very casual way of saying share. Let's kick around some ideas. Let's brainstorm. Let's share some ideas. And in this case, it's about their next trip. Very nicely written, Fabio. I love it. Okay. Let's find another one. So, my friends and I, very nicely done, but let's practice with just the third person singular. Okay, here we have Dilsol said, the group, the group with dog meets to enjoy nature every day. Exactly. There's one minor thing you need to do, Dilsol, to make this grammatical. And this is another very common mistake I see with my students. So maybe in a future lesson, we will practice this. Dog is a noun and it's a countable noun. 1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs. Because of that, you need to add an article in front of it. The group with a dog. The group with a dog. A means any dog. You could also say the group with the dog. In this case, it is a specific dog, the one that belongs to this group. The group with a dog meets to enjoy nature every day. Other than that article, very nicely written. Great job. Okay, we have Karen, the man with sunglasses. Yes, the man with sunglasses smiles every day whenever he hears funny old jokes. Very nicely done. So smiles, to smile, and then we add that S, smiles. Very nice. Or how about Ava said, the group spends its time in the forest every day. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. You can say spends its time. I would also just say spends time and not include the it, but it's optional. You can have it there. The group spends its time in the forest every day. Very nicely done. I like that. And notice you spend time. And in this case, you can spend time in a location and they're in the forest. Very nicely done. And the keyword every day is at the end. I like this, Michael. The group hangs out, hangs out. So to hang out, this is a phrasal verb and it means to meet socially. So when you hang out with people, even if it's your coworkers, you're doing it for a social purpose, not for a business purpose. The group hangs out in the park every day. Very nice. Okay, Lewis, I think maybe you know this already from my explanation, but just remember you need to put your time reference every day, either at the beginning or at the end. And it is 2 words. Every day, they like to picnic in the forest. Otherwise, it's correct. And you can say every day, the group likes. The group likes. Abdo says, the man with the beard. Oh, nice description. And this is useful to help you think of adjectives. How would you describe someone if you don't know their name? Well, you could say, oh, the man with the beard, the man with sunglasses, the woman with a braid. Excellent job. The man with the beard wears the black watch every day. Exactly. Very nicely said. All right. Okay. Oh, here we have the family. This is an excellent example because the family is a collective noun. And this absolutely could be a family. The family works during the week. Excellent job. So our verb is work and conjugated in the present simple with the family. It works during the week. That's why it doesn't go to the park every day. Very nice. And good job having your keyword at the end. All right. Awesome job. Oh, okay. The group with a dog. Exactly. With a dog. The group with a dog. All right. It looks like, oh, very clever because here you're using it as the subject. It looks, and look is conjugated in the present simple. So you have to add that S. It looks like they hang out every day. Exactly. Very nicely written. The only thing is hang out. You won't notice this for pronunciation, but for spelling, you need it to be 2 words because hang is the verb. And if you wanted to conjugate it in the past simple, you can't do that when it's 1 word. So hang, next word, out. Hang is the verb, out is the preposition. And same with every day is 2 words as well. These things will not impact pronunciation, they just impact spelling. Excellent job, everyone. Let's do one more here. Elson said, the group comes together to talk about politics every day. Exactly. Very nice. So we have the phrasal verb to come together. That could be a replacement to gather, which we saw before. The group gathers, the group hangs out, but for social purposes only, the group comes together to talk about. Notice you talk about something, in this case, politics. If you wanted to use discuss, you don't discuss about something. You discuss something, but you talk about something. Okay. Excellent job. Let's move on to the next one. What do we have next? It's a surprise for me too, because I don't remember. Every weekend. So let's practice this again because the placement of every is different. Remember, now you know you can put it at the beginning or at the end. That is the safest location because it's always correct. Sometimes you can put it after the verb, but not always. So because of that, I recommend the very beginning or the very end. Now, here is another opportunity. You can pinpoint one specific person and practice your adjectives to describe who you are talking about. Or we can look at this as a collective noun. Now, of course, we can use the same thing, the group, or you could use the family as well. You could even say the household, which would be the people who live in a house. That wouldn't be as common, but I'm just brainstorming some collective nouns that you could use. All right. Let's see. We have the family. Michelle said, the family spends time every weekend. Exactly. Very nice. So spend is our verb, and you spend time. And you need that S because it's the family. It spends time. Now, I would just add one word to make this sound more complete because it makes me think, well, spend time doing what? So, to help make that sentence more complete, I would just say the family spends time together. And I would just add that word together. The family spends time together every weekend. Okay. Yeah, exactly like Bo just said. I like how you added the family in this picture. Very nicely done. Just a few extra words to describe this, but it makes it sound more advanced. The family in this picture spends quality time together. Another easy way to sound more advanced. Great job, Bo. Added the word quality time. Quality time. Quality time represents the idea that they're actually enjoying the time together. But because the family could be in the same room, but they're just on their phones. One person's on their phone, the other person is working. So is that really quality time? So quality time would be that they're interacting, they're socializing, they're engaging. So the family in this picture spends quality time together every weekend. Very nicely done. Okay, Karen, my family, very nice. Imagining this is your family. Maybe you're showing this to your friend, this picture to your friend, and then you add some information. My family enjoys. An excellent job. Does everyone notice here how we have the verb to enjoy? And it has an S on it because it's in the present simple. But notice the next verb, cook, to cook, the next verb is in the ing. And that's because enjoy is a gerund verb. Now, with gerund verbs, the first verb is conjugated according to the subject and time reference. In this case, the present simple third person singular. And then the second verb, you add the ing. Excellent sentence, Karen. Okay, I like this one here. Some nice descriptors. Dilsol said, the girl with yellow dress. The girl with yellow dress. Very nice. I see her. I know exactly who you're talking about. Visits with, this is our verb to visit, visits her aunt and cousins to have dinner every weekend. Excellent job and very creative imagining that this family and the relationship between them. Very nicely done. The only thing you would need to do is, and again, perhaps we should practice this because this is the one area I correct with my students, my most advanced students. So don't feel bad, Dill Soul, or anyone else who makes this mistake, because it's a very common mistake. The girl with the yellow dress, or the girl with a yellow dress. Now, I chose the because it's a specific yellow dress, the one she's wearing, whereas a just means any yellow dress, but you could use either one, but you need an article. Yellow is an adjective. It describes the dress. Adjectives don't replace articles. Possessives replace articles. So you could say my dog instead of a dog or the dog. But if you say little dog, little is an adjective. So you still need a possessive, my little dog, or an article, a little dog, the little dog. So yellow is the adjective, dress is the noun, and you need an article. Okay. The Here we go. Ava has another descriptor. The woman with curly hair enjoys having a get together with her family every weekend. Very nicely done. The woman with curly hair, very nice. Now, in this case, hair is an uncountable noun, so you don't need an article in front of it. Excellent job, Ava. The woman with curly hair, curly is the adjective, and enjoy is our verb conjugated. Enjoy is a gerund verb. So the next verb, have, is in ing, and a get together. Very nicely written, a get together. This is an event where people gather, where people get together. Excellent sentence. Okay. Now, this is interesting. Mamadou wrote, the members of my family. But what is the subject? If you think about who the subject is, in English, there are only 5 subjects. I, you, he, she, it, I consider the same subject, we, and they. So you must take this noun and think of it as a subject. So what is the subject? In this case, it's the members. The members is the subject, and that would be I, you, he, she, it, we, they. They. The members of the family is they. So they share because because the subject is they. So the verb needs to be share without the S. The members of the family share a good moment every weekend. So to fix this, you would just either, as Wake Up said, you would either just say share, or you would just say my family and not the members. All right, excellent job. Inoke said every weekend, each one gets ready to reunite along with its family. Very nicely done. This is an interesting strategy. Each one. So now our subject is he, she, it, because each one represents one person. So he gets ready, she gets ready, the little girl gets ready, the teenager gets ready to reunite along with its family. Very nicely done. I like that. I never thought about that, to be honest, as a collective noun or as a he, she, it, to use each one. Very nicely done. That's very clever. I'm impressed. Okay, let's move on. So now we have every night. Oh, well, we have 2 people in this photo, and they're pretty easy to identify because one's a man, one's a woman. But what would the collective noun be? Let's imagine they're in a romantic relationship. They're not brother and sister. They're not coworkers. They're not friends. They're in a romantic relationship. So what would be the collective noun that would represent the subject, he, she, it, because we want to practice adding that S or ES to our verbs in the present simple? Elson has it. Does anyone else know? Say the answer before I reveal it. The couple. Exactly. So the couple. So if you're at a party and you're talking to 2 people, you could say, I met an interesting couple at the party. The couple loves hiking. So the couple, you're referring to 2 people as one unit. So it's a collective noun. It's just like saying the group, but for 2 people in a romantic relationship, we refer to them as couple, the couple. It doesn't matter if they are boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, engaged, or married. It does not matter. You would still use the couple. Okay, so let's look at this picture. This is an interesting picture. Every night, what could you say? Think of different verbs that you could use based on this picture. And what could you say? Okay, Mozab, let's look at this. Every night, the couple, well, we want to take our verb and we want to conjugate it with the couple, which is a collective noun. He, she, it. So we need to add that S or ES. So I'm sure everyone knows what have is in the present simple. Every night, the couple has a date night. So dating is a verb, to date, but a night, what type of night? A date night. And what do you do on a date night? You go for a nice dinner. You go for a walk in the park. You go and do what this couple is doing right here. So you do something to spend quality time together. That would be a date night. Okay. So Horatio said the couple goes. Exactly. So here we have an irregular spelling. We need to add that ES, which I'm sure everybody knows already. The couple goes for a car ride every night. And that is an excellent sentence structure because when you go for a car ride, it sounds more like a leisurely activity. In the morning, when you go to work and you take your car as your vehicle, you don't go for a car ride. You drive to work. You drive to work because it isn't leisurely. It isn't for enjoyment. It's for the purpose of transportation. But if you're doing it for enjoyment, to look at the beautiful mountains, to have a picnic, or just because you really enjoy driving, you use to go for a ride, a car ride, to go for a car ride. Okay, excellent job. The couple spends quality time every night. Exactly. And just like I made the comment before, to me, this sounds a little incomplete. Spend quality time. You just need to add that word together. Spends quality time together every night to make it sound complete because you spend time doing something. But if you add the word together, then I understand that's how they're spending their time. Oh, they're spending it together. And that in itself is the activity. So Raul said this couple, exactly, this couple, because it's a specific couple, you can absolutely say that. This couple enjoys getting together every night. Yes, so to get together is when two people meet because you can be in a couple but not live in the same house. You could be early in your relationship, so you're not living together, but you are still a couple because it doesn't matter if you're married or just dating or how long you've been dating for. Good job. Okay, Louise says, every night, Bill likes to drive his girlfriend to see the mountains. Very nicely done. I like how you used one person, you named him Bill, and you used your verb like with the S. Every night, Bill likes to drive who? His girlfriend to see the mountains. Very nicely done. Nice sentence. Okay. Excellent job, everyone. There are so many great comments here. Okay. Dindy said, that couple seems very shy. And this is an excellent sentence because the verb seem is in the present simple and it's conjugated with couple because you added the S. So very nicely done because we use the present simple also for factual information, and you still need to conjugate your verb. So although this isn't necessarily an every night because it's just factual, it seems shy. That couple seems very shy. Very nice. All right. Excellent job, everyone. How about this? Now, our adverb of frequency is frequently. Frequently. So this is, if we have always is 7 days per week, frequently would be slightly less. There is no definition such as it must be 6 times per week, it must be 5 times per week, but it's less than always, but it's still to a large degree. So if we are using 7 days per week and always is 7 days per week, to me, frequently sounds like 5 or 6. 5 or 6. Okay. So what could you say? And again, we could talk about the person presenting. We could talk about the other people in the picture. You can use adjectives, descriptors to identify them, or you can talk about them as a unit. What would be the collective noun? In this case, this looks to me like a professional situation. So, what would be the collective noun to talk about this group as it? He, she, it. How could we talk about this group as it? Well, you could say group, like I just told you. You could say this group or the group. You could absolutely do that. What else could you use as a collective noun? To me, it doesn't look like a family. It's definitely not a couple. So, what could we say? Well, a lot of people have it. Ava said the team. And Satyajit said the team. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Excellent job. It's the team. Okay. Now let's use frequently. AK said, my boss. Exactly. My boss. So this is a great opportunity. You could say he or she, but you could say my boss, my coworker, my teammate. My teammate is one person on your team. My colleague. So those are different options that you can use for the subject that would all replace he or she or it. My boss frequently calls meetings. Exactly. When you call a meeting, it means that the boss says, okay, everyone, let's meet 5 minutes in the boardroom. Oh, my boss just called a meeting. In that case, it's the past simple because it's a completed past action. My boss just called a meeting. Oh, sorry, I can't go to lunch. My boss just called an emergency meeting. My boss frequently calls meetings. So now frequently is our regular adverb of frequency. So the placement is subject, adverb of frequency, and then your verb conjugated with the subject. Excellent job. How about this one? Julia said, the presenter, exactly, the person presenting, the presenter frequently goes on, and we find it tedious. Ugh. So I hope you understand, goes on and on. And to be dramatic, you can keep adding on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And native speakers often do that if we really want to emphasize how long the person went on and on for. To find it tedious. Very nicely done. Hopefully, that's not what you're thinking right now with this presentation that I, as a presenter, am going on and on and on. Hopefully, not. All right, awesome job. And also, nice job changing your subject. At the beginning, we have the presenter. Go is our verb conjugated, goes on and on. And we, now the subject has changed. So you have to change your verb conjugation, which Julia did. Excellent job, Julia. Okay. Yes, Freddie, we frequently can observe. How about change that to a collective noun or he or she to practice that? Oh, right. Ada said Alan. So now in the picture, we have an Alan. Alan makes his presentation in the meetings frequently. Yeah, I would put the adverb of frequency before the verb. Alan frequently makes his presentation. Now, if you use make a presentation, it means that you create it. So, for example, the PowerPoint that you're looking at right now, I made it. And this is a presentation. So, I made this presentation. I chose the images, I added the text, I formatted it. So, I created it, I made it. But for this one, you can just use the verb present and put that in the present simple and add the s. Alan frequently presents, or you can give a presentation. You can give a presentation. All right. Zusi said, the teacher, exactly, the teacher, he or she, the teacher frequently uses the information board. Exactly. So on the screen here, yeah, you could call that an information board. Very nice. All right, here. So we have one with team. The team meets frequently to improve the efficiency of the work. Exactly. Adverbs of frequency or adverbs in general are difficult because their position is flexible. To me, this sounds good. Meets frequently. To be absolutely safe, because in many cases the placement is not flexible, I recommend doing subject, adverb of frequency, and then verb because it's always correct. However, Dindy, to me, this does sound good. All right. Yes, this meeting, excellent job, because this is the it. I, you, he, she, it. So this meeting, it takes place frequently. Very nice. And again, to me, frequently sounds good at the end. If you want to make sure it's always correct, then you can put it after the subject before the verb. Okay, excellent job. How about, this one? So usually, again, so if we have always, frequently, to me, usually sounds either about the same as frequently or maybe just the slightest bit less. But again, these aren't things that everyone would agree with, but it's about there. It's either the same as frequently or just perhaps maybe a tiny bit less, but it's less than always. So here, to me, these look like strangers. So I don't see them as a collective. It's possible they're a couple. They just choose to sit in different locations. But to me, they look like strangers. So I don't see a collective noun. So we could refer to them as individuals. So we have the man, the woman. You can add more information. Even though there's only one man and one woman, you can still use a descriptor just to add more information to practice as well. So, and our adverb of frequency is usually. What could you say in this picture? So here we have she reads a book in train usually. Okay, so for placement, let's do subject, adverb of frequency, and then verb. She usually reads a book. Very nicely done, because your verb is read and is conjugated with the subject. She usually reads a book. Now, what preposition do we need with train, subway, plane, boat? What do we use? We use the preposition on. So a very useful memory aid is if you can move, then use the preposition on. So when you're in a car, you can't get up and move. And that's why we use in with a car, a truck, a van, so a vehicle in. But you can move on a train, on a plane, on a boat, on a subway. Am I forgetting any? So we use on. She usually reads a book on the train, on the train. Okay. Sergi, I like this. Sergi chose to use the local bus as the subject. Excellent job, Sergi, and very creative because this is it. I, you, he, she, it. So the bus as the subject is it. The bus, it is usually empty in the summertime. Very nicely done. So our verb to be conjugated with the subject. The local bus is usually empty in the summertime. Very nicely done. Okay, Java here said the boy, exactly, the boy. The boy usually rides a bus to go to work. Very nice. So you can ride a bus. You can also take a bus, but you can ride a bus. Very nice. And then you added your S. Excellent. Now, generally, we use boy if it's more of a child. So if this was a child going to school, perhaps. But for adults, we generally use man. So the man usually rides a bus to go to work. Okay. Here we go. We have Ellison said, the woman reading a book. Excellent job, because the woman reading a book, that as the subject is she. She usually takes the bus. Very nice. She usually takes the bus. The woman reading a book. Excellent job. Very nicely done. Okay. How about this one? So we have sometimes. Sometimes would be less than usually and frequently. So we have always, frequently, usually, about the same, and then sometimes. So maybe sometimes is 3 times a week. If we're using 7 out of 7, 7 days in a week is always. 6, 5 is usually frequently, and then sometimes could be 3 or 4, could be sometimes. Again, these are just guidelines. So we'll do our subject, our adverb of frequency, sometimes, and then our verb. So let's think of a collective noun. So we already practiced some. We could say the group, the group. So if this is friends, a group of friends, then you can use the group, the group. They could also be colleagues. So we could say the team because they could work together. This could be a work meeting. It's just taking place in a public location. Or you can refer to each person. And now they look quite similar, don't they? So you have to use some really good descriptive words if you want to identify one specific person. Now, another collective, you could refer to everyone in this picture, including the people in the background. You could refer to all of them as the crowd, the crowd. So the crowd is another way to say the group. So those are some collective options for you just to practice. Okay. So what do we have here? We have Java here said the friends. Exactly. That's correct. Sometimes eat out. So when you eat out, it means you go to a location other than your home, other than your office, and you eat. So this sentence is correct. Let's practice with he, she, or it. All right. So what could we do? So here, KSL, SLSL, not sure how to say that. This man, so get rid of the S because you have this, which represents one. This man sometimes, because we want to do subject, adverb of frequency, and then our verb. This man, no S, this man sometimes. Now, what do we need to do here? Because our verb is to hang out. So Susan has that. Hang out as to. Now, Susan used I as the subject. So in this case, is correct. If you wanted to use this man with only one man, you would add the S. This man sometimes hangs out in this cafe. Very nice. Oh, I love it. Fabio, this cafe. Yes, exactly. Why didn't I think of that? This cafe, it, so we're referring to the cafe as the subject. This cafe, it sometimes gets really busy. So to get busy, in this case, get means become. It's that transition between not busy to busy. This cafe sometimes gets really busy. Excellent job, Fabio. Okay, here we have Gore with a nice descriptor. The man with the white t-shirt. Okay, so let's put this in the present simple. The man with the white t-shirt listens to his friend carefully. Listens. So you need listen. To listen is your verb, and then you add the S because it's in the present simple. And you listen to someone or something. So if I have headphones in, you could say, "Oh, Jennifer, what are you listening to? What are you listening to?" Now, in this case, he listens to his friend carefully. Very nicely done. Okay, sometimes the team goes out in order to talk about business. Exactly, very nice. So the team is the collective noun. Now, again, adverbs of frequency, they are flexible. If you want to be very safe, the safest choice is subject, adverb, verb. The team sometimes goes out in order to talk about business, and our verb is go. Very nice. Okay. So this coworker, if you have this, you only need one because this is for singular and these is for plural. But let's talk about one. So just change it to this coworker sometimes talks about his research on human rights. Human rights. So you need that S on human rights. Rights. So you could say, to make this a collective, the team. The team sometimes talks about its research on human rights, or the group of friends, and the conjugation is the group. Very nice. Okay. Now, how about this one? It's our last one. We have rarely. So we have always, frequently, usually, sometimes. Now, rarely is on the lesser side. So if you do something 7 out of 7 is always, rarely might be 1 out of 7. Rarely. Okay. So you can think of it as not often, not usually, rarely. And we have one person in this group. In this picture, I should say, this isn't a group. This is a picture. We have one person in this picture. So this will be easy for you. We've done a lot of practice with collective nouns. Awesome job, everyone. How about this one? Asham said she rarely arranges her suitcase. Exactly. So even if the person is doing it now, you could still make that comment. Oh, wow, she rarely arranges her suitcase. So this is unusual for her. The fact that she's arranging her suitcase now is unusual because she rarely arranges her suitcase. Very nicely done. She rarely stays home. Exactly. It looks like she's about to leave. So she rarely stays home. Exactly. Very nice. Fabio said, my daughter. Exactly. So that could be a different subject. My daughter rarely goes on a solo trip. Very nicely done. A solo trip is when you travel alone, just one person, without a friend, without a partner, just alone. A solo trip. Very nice. She rarely travels. Maria says she rarely travels. Very nice. Our verb is travel. So she doesn't know what to pack. Exactly. Exactly. Everyone is doing very nice with this one. Okay. She rarely arranges books. Exactly. Very nice. Again, we have arrange. Now, notice here that ES adds an extra sound. Arranges. Arranges. Repeat after me. Arranges. Arranges. Very nice. Iman says she rarely travel. Don't forget that S. Iman, don't forget that S. She rarely travels with an S. She rarely travels overseas. So maybe now she is, but this isn't something that's part of her regular routine. She rarely travels overseas. So she's really nervous about her trip. Very nice. Java here said she rarely explores. So our verb is explore and then add that S. Explores foreign lands. Very nice. Okay. Ayat says, Linda, very nice. Give this person a name, make it sound more personal. Linda rarely travels abroad. Travels abroad. Very nice. So to travel abroad and to travel overseas, as Iman said, both are the same. Notice it's overseas with that S. And in this case, it's abroad. There's no S on it.
I'm sure you feel a lot more confident speaking now. Let's quickly review the verb to be, and we'll review everything you need to know about the verb to be because this is an area that students struggle with. The verb to be can of course be used as the main verb in a sentence. Now don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in our free lesson PDF, and at the end of this lesson I'm going to quiz you, so make sure you watch until the end. The verb to be is the main verb. As the main verb, let's review it in the present simple. Now, it has irregular conjugations. I know you're thinking, Jennifer, I know this, but I correct these mistakes with my most advanced students, so pay attention. The conjugations are I am, you, we, they, are, he, she, it, is. I am happy. So we use the verb to be for states and emotions. What about you? I am, right now I am, fill in the adjective. Hopefully it's a positive one and put it in the comments. I am what? Put it in the comments. Practice that verb to be. You are my friend. He is a happy person. She is a doctor. It is raining. We are students. They are tired. Native speakers use the verb to be in the contracted form. You should use it too to sound more natural, especially in spoken English. I'm happy. You're my friend. He's a doctor. She's a doctor. It's raining. We're students. Notice that pronunciation. Where? We're students. They're tired. As the main verb in the past simple, it also has irregular conjugations. The subjects I, he, she, it use was. You, we, they use were. I was there yesterday. He was a great leader. She was at the party. It was a beautiful day. You were late. We were happy. They were in the garden. Let's look at the future simple. The structure is subject, will, be. Now in this case, will is the auxiliary verb and be is the main verb. But the conjugations don't change, so this is a very easy verb tense. I will be there tomorrow. You will be surprised. He will be ready on time. She will be at work. It will be sunny. We will be waiting. They will be happy. Now let's look at the verb to be as the auxiliary verb in the present continuous. I'm reading a book. He's watching TV. They're being helpful. The structure here is subject, and then you need the verb to be in the present simple. So you have those three options depending on the subject. Am, is, and are. And then you need your verb in ing, which is the present participle. Let's review all the conjugation options for the verb to be. In the infinitive, of course, to be. The base verb, be, you get rid of to. Present simple, am, is, are. Past simple, was, were. Present participle, being. Past participle, been. And notice that pronunciation. In American English, it's been. Let's review that last example. They're being helpful. This is the present continuous. So we have our verb to be in the present simple as the auxiliary verb conjugated with the subject, they are. And then we have the present participle. So we have our verb be in the ing form, which is being. They're being helpful. The verb to be is the auxiliary verb in the past continuous. He was watching TV. They were studying for the exam. The structure here is subject, was, were, conjugated with the subject, plus the present participle, your verb in ing. Let's review the future continuous. She will be sleeping at that time. They will be working on the project. This one's easy because you already know how to conjugate the future simple. So you take that subject, will, be, and then you add on the present participle, your verb in ing. Let's review the verb been, which is the past participle. And remember that pronunciation. Repeat after me, been. This is used in the present perfect tense when be is the main verb. For example, he has been to Paris. They have been friends for years. The structure here is subject, have or has conjugated with the subject, and then the past participle with the verb to be is been. The past perfect tense also uses been when the verb to be is the main verb. She had been in line for hours. So here the structure is subject, had, and then your past participle. So for the verb to be, that's been. The verb to be is also used in the passive voice. Now for the passive voice, this is when the focus is on the recipient rather than the subject of the action. She ate the cake. Is this the passive or the active? This is the active because the subject, she, is doing the action. She ate the cake. Now I want you to change this to the present passive voice. Can you do that? How would you start? She ate the cake. So we take the object, the cake, we use the verb to be, is eaten. The cake is eaten, and then you can include by whom, by her, but that's optional. So you already know your conjugations for the verb to be in the present simple, so of course you need to change them based on the subject. She ate the cake. What's that in the past passive? The cake was eaten because the cake is conjugated as it. It was eaten by her. How about the present perfect passive voice? Can you get this one? The cake has been eaten. And the past perfect? The cake had been eaten. And how about the future passive? The cake will be eaten by her. You should know how to use the present passive and the past passive because they are the most common. So focus on those two. The verb to be is also used in the subjunctive, and native speakers use this specifically in hypothetical, unreal situations. What do you think about this sentence? If I were you, I'd apologize. What do you think? Does it sound strange, unusual? I were, isn't it? I was busy yesterday. In the subjunctive, it always uses were. If I were you, if she were you. All subjects use were. But native speakers don't always follow this rule, and it's very common to hear a native speaker say, if I was you, I'd quit. So don't be surprised, but on a grammar exam, your IELTS, you should definitely say, if I were you, because that is the correct grammatical rule. Now you know all the conjugations you need to know, but remember the verb to be is also used in many expressions and idioms. So I'm going to teach you some common ones, but we're going to do this as a quiz at the same time. To be on cloud nine. This means to be extremely happy or elated. She on cloud nine when she passed her IELTS. Now, how can you complete this sentence in the past simple? She on cloud nine. Put it in the comments. She was on cloud nine. Did you get it? To be in hot water. This means that you're in trouble. They have in hot water lately. Complete the sentence with the present perfect. Do you know what this is? They have, put it in the comments, they have been in hot water lately. Did you get that correct pronunciation? Been. To be in the same boat. This is in the same situation or circumstance as someone else. We in the same boat. Easy, right? Present simple. What's the answer? Put it in the comments. We are in the same boat. This is easy for you. To be on the ball. This means to be alert, competent, well prepared. If he had on the ball, he wouldn't have lost the client. Oh, third conditional. How can you complete the sentence? Put it in the comments. If he had been on the ball. To be under the weather. This means to be sick or unwell. Thankfully, I under the weather last week. Complete the sentence with the past simple negative. Past simple negative. Thankfully, I, put it in the comments. Thankfully, I wasn't under the weather last week. Notice I used that contraction, was not, wasn't. To be out of the woods. This is when you have successfully overcome a difficult situation. We out of the woods yet, doctor? Complete this with a question in the present simple. We out of the woods yet? What's the answer? Are we out of the woods yet? Easy, right? To be a piece of cake. This means to be very easy. This lesson, a piece of cake. This is a question in the past simple. This lesson, a piece of cake. Was this lesson a piece of cake? Now to answer, you can say, yes, it was, or no, it wasn't. So what do you think? Put your answer in the comments. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Our last question, how are you doing so far? To be in good company. This is when you're surrounded by people you admire. So in this community, we're in good company. Now, your test question. In good company is a great way to cheer up. You need to complete this with a gerund statement. In good company is a great way to cheer up. What's the answer? As the gerund, it's the verb ing, being. Being in good company is a great way to cheer up. So how did you do with that quiz? Share your score in the comments. One of the best ways to feel confident speaking is by expanding your vocabulary. So let's do that with common expressions that you can use in your daily speech. Expression number 1, one's take on something. This is simply another way to ask someone for their opinion or ideas. So if you're in a meeting, it's very common to say, what's your take on that? What's your take on that? And that being whatever you're discussing, maybe a new idea, a new project, a new plan. And to reply, you could say, well, my take on it is, and then you simply state your opinion or your idea. We also sometimes will state our opinion or idea. For example, I think we should delay the project. And then we add, that's my take on it. That's my take on it. Number 2, to be in a position to. This is an expression that simply means to be able to or to be capable of. So you might say, we're not in a position to take on any new clients. At least that's my take on it. Or you might ask, is the company in a position to take on more debt? Is the company able to? Number 3, to be on the right track. I love this expression because it means you're making good progress on something specific. For example, you might say, we haven't solved the problem yet, but we're on the right track. So the problem still exists, but you're headed towards the solution. You're making good progress. You're on the right track. So if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll solve the problem. Number 4, to stem from. This is an excellent business or academic expression, and this means to be caused by or to come from. So you might read in an article, a lot of health problems stem from poor diet. So the health problems are caused by, stem from a poor diet. Said another way, you could say a poor diet causes health problems. But remember, we're switching them because we're using stem from, caused by. Number 5, to be a given. A given. This is something that is well known as an established fact or truth. So I might share my fact or truth. If you want to be a confident English speaker, you have to practice speaking. That's a given. It's just another way of saying that's a fact. At least that's my take on it. And said another way, I can say it's a given, to be a given that. It's a given that if you want to be a confident speaker, you need to practice speaking. Number 6, to take X into account. X is something, a noun, and that simply means to account for or to consider something. For example, when you're planning a vacation, you need to take exchange rates into account. The exchange rate, the time zone difference, the customs, the culture into account. Number 7, this is a good one, to grapple with. To grapple with. This is another way of saying to deal or cope with a difficult situation. So let's take a difficult situation. Social isolation during the pandemic. That's been very difficult. Many people are grappling with, they're dealing with, they're coping with the situation. Many people are grappling with isolation during the pandemic. Number 8, to be short on something. This simply means you don't have enough of something. For example, I'm short on time this week. Or I can't go on that vacation because I'm short on cash. I don't have enough. Number 9, to be up in the air. We use this expression to talk about a plan or an issue that's unsettled or unresolved or uncertain, up in the air. For example, my summer plans are up in the air. They're uncertain. I haven't planned them yet. Or I might say, the future of that business is up in the air. It's uncertain. Number 10, to bring someone up to speed. When you bring someone up to speed, you share the latest information with them. So let's say your colleague was on vacation and they get back and they could ask you, hey, can you bring me up to speed? Can you share the latest information? Can you bring me up to speed on the Jones project? So you could talk about a specific situation or just in general. Can you bring me up to speed? Number 11, this is a great one, a deal breaker. A deal breaker is something that causes you to abandon a plan or a commitment or a relationship. For example, I might be looking for a new job and I see one that looks really great, but then I get to the salary and it's way too low. That's a deal breaker. That causes me to abandon that plan, the plan to apply for that job. The salary is a deal breaker. We also use this a lot in relationships. You might say, she lied to me. That's a deal breaker. So you're going to end the relationship, you're going to abandon it because she lied. And that's a deal breaker. Number 12, a do-over. A do-over is another attempt to do something when your previous attempt was unsuccessful. So let's say you go to a job interview and it went terribly. You did really poorly. You could say, I wish I could have a do-over. I wish I could do the interview again. But unfortunately, most of the time we don't get do-overs. But you might be in a situation where you're in a class and the professor gave you a test and everybody did poorly on the test. So the professor might give the students a do-over. The professor gives the students a chance to do the test again because everyone did really poorly. Number 13, to come in handy. When something comes in handy, it's very useful. So this is a positive one. So let's say you're considering adding a new feature to a product you provide or a service, and you might say, oh, this new feature will really come in handy. It will come in handy. It will be useful. Number 14, to be a breeze. We describe something as a breeze when it's really easy. For example, learning English is a breeze, right? It's really easy. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what your take on it is. Or I could say using Google Docs is a breeze. It's really easy. And then I could add using Google Docs is a breeze compared to MS Word. So in that case, I'm saying that Google Docs is easier than MS Word. And finally, number 15, to be spot on. When someone is spot on, they're 100% accurate or correct. For example, I could say the weather forecast this weekend was spot on. The meteorologist said it was going to rain on Saturday at 2 o'clock, and it rained on Saturday at 2 o'clock. He said it was going to be sunny and 25 on Sunday, and that's exactly what it was. The forecast was spot on. And now you have 50 new advanced expressions to sound fluent. Are you ready for your quiz? Feel free to go back, review the video again if you need, but if you're ready, let's complete your quiz. So here's how the quiz is going to work. You're going to see a sentence and you have to decide which expression best completes the sentence. I'll only give you a few seconds, so hit pause and take as much time as you need. So let's do this one together. Which option is it? A, B, or C? And the answer is A, bring someone up to speed. Now notice how I also completed the sentence. You can do that as well for additional practice to make sure you get the grammar correct. So those are the instructions. Now let's continue on with the next question. Amazing job with this speaking masterclass, and you can watch this masterclass again anytime to practice speaking because I'm sure you can form different sentences for all the example pictures. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And keep expanding your vocabulary with this lesson right now.